Nem começou e ele já está 2 passos à frente.
Eu vou permitir que você dê uma espiada no mecanismo invisível para fazer as suas primeiras vendas na internet, caso você não tenha realizado nenhuma venda, mesmo não entendendo sobre como esse mercado funciona. Eu sei que você está se perguntando, beleza, Finch, mas que porra de mecanismo invisível é esse que você está falando? O mecanismo invisível é simplesmente o segredo por trás dos maiores negócios da internet. É o que possibilitou tantos empresários saírem apenas da tentativa à construção de verdadeiros impérios digitais.
Até agora não falou nada.
Tiago, mais uma vez, já está tentando fisgar um novo público. Aqueles que nunca venderam nada na internet.
Cara, será que o segredo é esse? Falar e não falar nada? Galera, eu vou ensinar vocês a pegarem mulher, tá ligado? E esse é um curso que vai transformar vocês de uma forma incrível, tá ligado? Vocês vão se transformar no homem que vocês deveriam sempre ser. Num homem incrível, num homem foda, tá ligado? Porque a sedução, ela é feita pra homens fodas, tá ligado? E é isso. Se você é um homem foda, irmão, porra, sempre tem que comprar meu curso de sedução. Porra, é isso? É falar e não falar bosta nenhuma? Sério mesmo? Tô perdendo dinheiro.
Ele enfatiza que você não precisa saber vender para ter retorno, porque ele vai te ensinar tudo. Sim, é a fórmula clássica do sucesso fácil, onde até quem nunca viu uma planilha de vendas na vida pode se tornar um gênio dos negócios digitais. E como se não bastasse, Tiago ainda afirma que esse super método é o mesmo que os milionários de hoje ganharam para conquistar suas fortunas. A promessa
Boquinha de boqueteiro.
simples.
A boquinha de boqueteiro.
Com esse curso, você não só vai virar um mestre das vendas, mas também terá um assento garantido no Clube de Golfe dos 1000. A lógica é clara: vender não apenas o curso, mas o sonho de ascender a uma elite.
E agora, você vai poder espiar e experimentar 5% da força desse segredo. Eu espero que para isso você esteja preparado. Nos meus 11 anos de mercado, eu não vi uma alma penada falando disso. Nenhum desses guruzinhos abriram a boca para falar uma vírgula sobre o mecanismo invisível. Eu garanto que, se eles soubessem o que é, não precisariam de estar enganando todo mês com uma promessa diferente milhares de pessoas por aí na internet. Uma hora estão vendendo curso de marketing, depois tigrinho, depois inventam outra coisa. Daqui a pouco, você vai achar esses bunda mole até no OnlyFans.
Mas calma aí, ele tá falando dos caras que estão vendendo tigrinho, mas antigamente o Finch, ele vendia... O que ele vendia mesmo? Ele vendia um golpe na internet aí também, que eu lembro, tá ligado? Eu não lembro qual é o golpe hoje. Telex Free, eu não lembro se é Telex Free, alguma coisa que sim, tá ligado? Então ele tá falando do tigrinho de hoje, mas ele participou do tigrinho, sei lá, de 10 anos atrás? Não sei. Eu não sei qual foi o golpe que ele participou na época, tá ligado? Quem souber aí, comente, mas é como se ele não fosse também mais um desses, né?
Mas voltemos ao assunto. Isso que eu vou te dar.
Qual é a opinião sobre o Raccoon? Cara, Raccoon é só um cara que chupou o conteúdo do Nessahan Elite e depois jogou de uma forma mais afeminada na comunidade. Só isso. Mas ele tem a moral dele, tá ligado? Ele falou coisas boas, sim. Entendeu? Mas nada demais. Prefiro Nessahan Elite. É nós, o Doni Donovitz. Acho que Rinodi vendi a bunda por uma moeda de 25 centavos. Já reagiu ao Nando Moura brincando de boneca? Ainda não, nem tô sabendo disso. Marketing multinível digital. Danilo vendendo curso de sedução pro velho da lanche. Raccoon agregou demais. Cara, com certeza. Cara, você tem que entender que todo mundo... Cara, você tem que entender que todo Red Pill, na sua época, agregou, tá ligado? O Raccoon, na época dele, agregou e continua agregando. O Dom Sandro, mesmo com as merdas que ele fala para tentar te afeminar, para tentar te ter, para tentar te fazer ter medo de mulher, ele também agrega na comunidade. Todo mundo agrega um pouco na comunidade. Entendeu? Todo mundo agrega um pouco. O Trunks também agrega na comunidade, pô. Todo mundo agrega na comunidade. Entendeu? Eu só não acho que o Raccoon foi o Messias que muita gente acha que ele foi, não, cara. Nessa Ranalita falou coisas muito mais interessantes e muito antes do que o Raccoon. Nessa Ranalita lançava livros já em 2005, cara. 2004, 2000 e pouco. Pô, fala sério.
Eu preparei nos mínimos detalhes para que até o iniciante consiga ter os seus...
O único que não agregou em nada foi o Guido. Você tá doido, cara? O Guido é um dos que mais agrega na comunidade. O Grigo trouxe o Rolo Tomassi. O Guido trouxe vários caras famosos aqui, pô. E é ruim, o Guido é pica, pô. Aí a mentalidade eu concordo. Ah, não. Ele tá falando que mais agregou. Aí não, né? Pra mim, a mentalidade é um cara que não agregou em nada na comunidade. Você acha que o Stallone impostor tem problemas cognitivos? Com certeza, cara. Ele tem laudo afirmando isso. O Stallone impostor, ele tem laudo afirmando que ele tem problemas mentais, tá ligado? Então, não tem como não falar que ele não é maluco.
Primeiros resultados. Isso foi feito por mim, pensando em você. Exemplo. Eu sei que você aí do outro lado pode se sentir travado na internet por não possuir um produto, por não saber nem sequer o que vender. Ou talvez você já tenha um produto, mas não sabe o caminho certo para vendê-lo. Então,
até o Stallone agrega na comunidade, com certeza, cara. O Stallone faz um conteúdo divertido. Faz um conteúdo de comédia, entendeu? Tem pessoas que se atraem mais por esse conteúdo. Então, com certeza, ele agrega na comunidade. Quer dizer que ele fala coisa inteligente? Não. Ele continua sendo maluco burro, tá ligado? Continua sendo agressor de mulher, quando você agride uma mulher, você é simplesmente burro. Não tem motivo pra você agredir uma mulher. Não tem motivo lógico para você agredir uma mulher. Entendeu? Então é somente burro. Mas quer dizer que ele não agrega? Não. Ele tem também. Ele agrega também, pô. Olha lá, trouxe o Stefan Molyneux, tá ligado? Mentalidade foi um mito e até hoje não é nada. A mentalidade é um. Danilo, sua opinião, o que você atualizaria nos dias de hoje? O que a Alita escreveu? Ah, cara, não atualizo nada. Isso é uma pergunta muito complexa para eu responder aqui em alguns segundos, irmão. Danilo, tem notícia do Shelby? Cara, o Shelby tava no Rio. Até a última notícia que eu tive dele. E ele tá de boa, cara. Ele tá de boa. Só tá correndo atrás de dinheiro mesmo. Tá trabalhando quietinho. Infelizmente, ele sempre fala que tá voltando, mas não volta.
todos os casos, fique sossegado. O que você vai ganhar agora vai resolver todos esses problemas em piscar de olhos. Isso é algo que eu nunca fiz antes. Eu vou colocar os meus melhores produtos nas suas mãos.
Então está aí, Tiago, tão bonzinho, sempre pensando em te ajudar. Ele promete revelar uma fórmula tão secreta e eficaz que nenhum outro vendedor de curso jamais ensinou. E o melhor, é tão infalível que qualquer iniciante pode se dar bem, sem esforço. Mas aqui está o verdadeiro truque. Ele realmente quer que você aprenda a vender. Sim, só que os produtos dele.
Antes de começar, eu era o quê? Frentista. Sim, eu era igual você que está assistindo esse vídeo hoje. Estava no CLT, também conhecido como escravidão. Larguei a escravidão e comecei a trabalhar para mim. A plataforma que Rivano não existia na época, existia a Bripe. Comecei na Bripe a fazer minhas vendas.
Agora vamos falar de mais um aluno de Tiago Fint, o generoso Daniel Penin. Esse apareceu na internet com um discurso nobre, prometendo ajudar a humanidade e desmascarar os farsantes. Um exemplo disso foi o vídeo que se tornou famoso, onde expôs a Blaze, uma empresa controversa. Penin se posicionou como paladino da verdade digital, sempre pronto para apontar o dedo para os enganadores.
Literalmente, eu estou dando oportunidade para todo mundo que precisa de ajuda. Eu não estou aqui pelo dinheiro, eu estou aqui porque eu sei que tem pessoas do outro lado da câmera precisando de mim agora.
De todos os personagens exibidos nesse vídeo, Penin é, sem dúvida, o pior de todos. Ele aparece com aquele discurso de bom moço, afirmando que chegou para ajudar e desmascarar os vilões da internet. Mas, na verdade, o plano dele é bem mais calculado.
Shelby é aquele que parecido com Adrian, é sim, cara, ele mesmo. Danilo, gosto de ouvir sua opinião. Valeu, Nintendo, brigadão. Ele parou de fumar mesclado? Não sei. Danto, pode voltar para os Estados Unidos? Nunca. Voltar eu posso. Só não vou voltar porque... Pra quê? Se eu já fui expulso de lá. Para dar merda? Se a mulher pedir pro cara agregar, tipo, dar tapa na cara na hora que tá metendo. Tu dá, ué. Cara, GS Gamer, não sei quem é GS Gamer, é um cara muito engraçado na comunidade, ele vive em outro mundo. Não sei quem é esse cara. KKK, as coisas que o cara pergunta pro maconheiro. Porra, o cara quer me fazer uma pergunta complexa no meio de uma live, porra. O Lula assinou essa semana para dobrar as penas de quem prejudica a mulher. Aí, galera, será que isso é verdade mesmo? Contem aí, vocês que estão mais ligados aí. Aquelas pessoas que entram pelo México nos Estados Unidos, qual a sua opinião? Estão certos? Tem que ir para ganhar dinheiro. Se essa é a opção de entrar lá dentro, se não consegue o visto, essa é a opção, irmão. Vai embora.
calculado. Ganhar a sua confiança para, no fim das contas, se tornar conhecido e, claro, lançar um de seus cursos. Penin usa a tática de se apresentar como o herói que vai salvar as pessoas dos golpes, mas o objetivo real é sempre o mesmo: capitalizar em cima da credulidade de quem cai na sua narrativa. O típico lobo em pele de cordeiro, mas com uma embalagem de marketing digital bem polida.
Pelo minuto de conhecimento que você vai ter, você vai estar pagando 1 centavo. 1 centavo o minuto. E além de ser 1 centavo o minuto, quando você vende isso aqui para uma pessoa, você fica com 99,99% de comissão. Eu tenho certeza que esse negócio funciona.
Agora vou explicar como funciona o esquema de Penin. Ao contrário de Thiago Finch, que foca em produtos digitais, Penin se especializou em produtos físicos, mais precisamente encapsulados. Ele começou a vender produtos de terceiros, mas logo encontrou uma brecha na regulamentação da Anvisa. É possível vender suplementos sem a necessidade de registro, o que significa que ele não precisa comprovar a eficácia desses produtos. Penin aproveita essa oportunidade para fabricar seus próprios encapsulados a um custo baixíssimo e, em seguida, faz parcerias com afiliados para vendê-los a preços superfaturados. Por isso, é comum vê-lo indicar plataformas que vendem encapsuladas, incentivando as pessoas a entrarem no mercado digital. Afinal, muitos dos produtos que essas plataformas oferecem são dele mesmo. Tudo muito bem orquestrado para maximizar os
Tudo produto placebo. Puta merda, hein?
lucros, enquanto o discurso é sempre o mesmo, ajudando você a começar no mundo dos negócios online.
Resveratrol mais ácido hialurônico, produto para pele, preço de compra dele é em torno de 12 a 13 reais, preço de venda 197. Ácido hialurônico custa em torno de 25 reais para comprar, você vende por 197. Um acelerador de metabolismo custa em torno de 10 reais e você consegue vender por 97 reais tranquilamente. Feno grego, excelente para fazer o cabelo crescer. Você compra por R$ 22,50 e vende por 185.
Aí você me pergunta, mas qual o problema de ele divulgar as plataformas que vendem seus produtos? O problema não é esse. O verdadeiro problema é que Daniel Penin costuma divulgar resultados e provas sociais completamente falsas, incentivando os vendedores afiliados a fazerem o mesmo. Isso, meus amigos, se caracteriza como propaganda enganosa. E, para mim, isso não é só antiético, é crime. Quando ele inflaciona as expectativas com falsas promessas.
E com tanto dinheiro em jogo, os afiliados fazem um marketing mais sujo, mais agressivo possível para vender cada vez mais. Pessoas que aplicaram botox no rosto dizem que nunca fizeram procedimentos para dar o mérito aos suplementos que melhoram a pele. Outras pessoas que emagreceram, fazendo dieta, treinando, dizem que foi o emagrecedor que foi a solução para a obesidade. Então a galera faz de tudo para poder conseguir vender tudo. E para vender muito, eles fazem muita, mas muita propaganda enganosa. Eu vou provar agora a propaganda enganosa de cada produto que ele mostrou no vídeo anterior. Eu vou mostrar só uma propaganda enganosa de cada, senão o vídeo vai demorar 2 horas. O primeiro produto que ele mostrou foi o Reveravit. Estou aqui dentro do site do Reveravit. Tá vendo essa senhora aqui do antes e depois? Essa senhora aqui nem tratamento de pele ela fez uma prótese dentária. Olha ela aqui, ó. Agora o hialuron quer. Estou aqui dentro do site oficial do produto. O vídeo vai demorar 2 horas. O primeiro produto que ele mostrou foi o Reveravit. Estou aqui dentro do site do Reveravit. Tá vendo essa senhora aqui do antes e depois? Essa senhora aqui.
Olha aí. Ele pegou essa foto num site onde a mulher fez prótese dentária. E ele disse que a mulher usou o produto dele. Foi isso? Caralho. O cara é esperto mesmo, hein? Daniel zoa, mas muita coisa que ele fala eu penso a mesma coisa. É nóis, irmão. Tamo junto. Ver vídeo sem pausa não dá strike? Não dá strike não, cara. Só tira a monetização. Se o cara tira a monetização, beleza. Ele fica com a monetização que não tem mesmo porra nenhuma aqui de dinheiro ganhando. E eu continuo com o meu vídeo. Não dá nada. Por isso o canal do Dan Sandro é importantíssimo. Ele atualiza sobre as leis contra os homens. Mas pro Dan é só papo de brocha o que ele fala. Não, irmão. Para você que não presta atenção no que eu falo, eu sempre falei, todas as vezes que eu falei do Dom Sandro, eu falei, a parte que ele é um jornalista jurídico, ele é bom demais. Ele deveria só fazer isso. Mas quando ele começa a falar as ideias dele de bosta, para tentar tornar você um homem afeminado, é isso que bate em mim, tá ligado? Não tem nada a ver. Não tem nada a ver com o que ele passa. Eu sempre falei isso. Se você não vai ter um vídeo onde eu falo mal do Dan Sandro que eu não fale isso. Então, não vamos ser hipócritas, né, irmão? Fala sério, né? Um cara desse não tem medo de morrer? Qual cara? Ah, o cara que faz esses produtos, cara. O Brasil é muito grande, cara. Vai morrer, não, nunca. O cara é um gênio, vendendo farinha no pote, falando que vai consertar o problema das pessoas. Exato. Danilo, coloca o canal A Casa do Homem. Eu vou botar aqui depois desse vídeo, beleza? Mas eu vou tentar ver no máximo 10 minutos, que daqui a pouquinho eu vou terminar a live, beleza? Se for aqueles canais que só tem vídeo de 40 minutos, aí é foda, né? Isso aqui eu já respondi. É o cara puto da vida porque vendem água no lugar de minoxidil. Esse vídeo é bom. Red Pill dos coach. É exato. Boca murcha da velha alta da mentalidade. Os conservadores são piores que esquerdistas. Os conservadores querem que os homens se sacrifiquem pelas brocas deles. Acho que temes a obrigação de morrer pelas mulheres e filhas delas. Não entendi nada. Tem um vídeo massa no canal do Bruce. Vamos lá.
Nem tratamento de pele ela fez uma prótese dentária. Olha ela aqui, ó. Agora o hialuron quer. Estou aqui.
Calma aí. Essa outra foto é da mulher também.
Tá vendo essa senhora aqui do antes e depois? Essa senhora aqui nem tratamento de pele ela fez uma prótese
É a mesma. Ah, aqui, ó. Parece que é isso mesmo, ó. É a mesma, velho? É sério mesmo?
Tá vendo essa senhora aqui do antes e
Ah, galera, eu sou ruim nisso. Eu não
depois?
sei
Essa senhora
ver.
aqui nem tratamento de pele ela fez uma prótese
Eu não sei ver muito bem a rosto, não. Pra mim parece a mesma velha.
dentária. Olha ela aqui, ó. Agora o hialuron quer. Estou aqui dentro do site oficial do produto e aqui só tem um antes e depois. E esse único antes e depois também é copiado da internet. Olha ele aqui, ó. Agora o acelerador de metabolismo seca já. Estou aqui dentro do site do produto, tem um antes e depois aqui. Pesquisei e achei esse mesmo antes e depois em outros sites. Olha aí. Agora o sem queda, produto voltado para queda de cabelo masculino. Estou aqui dentro do site. Tá vendo esse rapaz aqui de bermuda vermelha? Ó, foi copiado da internet. Todos os outros resultados que estão aqui foram copiados, mas eu não vou mostrar todos, senão o vídeo vai demorar muito.
Pelo visto, Penin tem uma verdadeira queda por depoimentos falsos. Até nos vídeos do YouTube dele, você encontra comentários nitidamente fabricados pela própria equipe, todos enaltecendo o grande gênio por trás do negócio. A estratégia é clara: criar uma falsa sensação de aprovação e sucesso, fazendo parecer que há uma legião de seguidores satisfeitos e inspirados por ele. Quem vê Penin todo bonzinho e manso na internet jamais imaginaria que ele seria capaz de gravar um vídeo expondo seu ex-amigo Kaiser, um dos ex-donos da empresa Bright. No vídeo, Daniel alega que vendeu um carro no valor de R$900 mil, mas nunca recebeu o pagamento. E, claro, a melhor forma que ele encontrou para resolver esse problema foi ir direto para as redes sociais e expor publicamente não só o ex-amigo, mas também a esposa dele. Penin recorre ao drama e à exposição pública para resolver questões pessoais.
Ai, galera, outro gordo. Será que nós estamos vendo um padrão aqui? Será que esse é um padrão?
Sempre com aquela narrativa de vítima que vai desmascarar os outros, mas que no fundo só reforça seu apetite por atenção e controvérsia.
Todo mundo me perguntando, Daniel, qual que é o vídeo desse mês? Esse mês vai sair a história não contada do Shirleyson Medeiros Kaiser. Ele me deu um golpe de R$1 milhão. Se ele deu um golpe em você também, me manda mensagem. Porque quando eu terminar com o Shirleyson Kaiser, ele vai estar na cadeia. Oi, Cacá, tudo bem? Hoje eles namorados, né? Deixa eu contar um negócio. O Kaiser ainda tá traindo você com as mesmas mulheres que ele traía a Rai, tá? Ele traiu a Rai com as funcionárias da Praia quase tudo. Mas ele contratou duas, que era tipo assim, as prostitutas de luxo do Kaiser. Eu tenho que falar mais, ô Cacá? Fala pro estelionatário do seu marido me pagar logo, porque senão eu vou dar muito mais merda no ventilador. Oi, Cacá, deixa eu contar um negócio que uma vez já me tá. O seu marido é tão frouxo que ele não me responde no WhatsApp, me bloqueou no Instagram. Você não me bloqueou ainda, né? Então, oi, Cacá, por último, o seu marido é um caloteiro. Foi acusado de roubar a Bribe. Essa aqui é bomba, viu? Você sabe que trocaram o CEO da Bribe, não foi à toa. Gente, o Kaiser vai me pagar ou eu vou ter que soltar todas as merdas no ventilador?
Até hoje não pagou, né?
Quem trai esposa, trai qualquer pessoa. Tu traiu a Rai como funcionária da Bribe, rapaz. Vira homem, para de bloquear os outros, paga suas dívidas. Ai, eu tenho culpa de você me dever, eu confiava em você. Aí tu vai lá, trai tua esposa, a culpa é minha? Me bloqueia no WhatsApp ainda? Rapaz, tu vai perder o nome hoje, eu não quero mais dinheiro. Não.
Agora, para finalizar, vou deixar um recado muito importante. O objetivo deste vídeo não é dizer que você deve desistir do marketing digital ou que isso não dá dinheiro. Pelo contrário, é um universo onde é possível ganhar muita grana e transformar sua vida. No entanto, o intuito aqui foi mostrar algumas das artimanhas e o que realmente se esconde por trás dos grandes nomes desse mundo. Muita gente vê as propagandas com aquele estilo de...
Pronto, vamos lá na casa do homem, ó. Vídeo de 3 minutinhos, já gostei, hein? Vamos lá, vamos ver. Quantos inscritos o cara tem? 17 mil, tá bom. Não paquere, não acredite nelas. União sem futuro, elas não são fiéis, namorar é caro, amor sem dinheiro, você não é amado. Não tenha contato com ela, não procure amor. Amante não ama. Vamos ver esse aqui.
Olá, meu nome é Roger Menezes, eu sou coach de relacionamento. E nesse vídeo eu estou abordando o tema amor diamante. Amor diamante, amor perigoso, amor instável, amor falso. É mais falso do que o da tua esposa. O amor da tua esposa é falso também, assim como era falso o amor das tuas namoradas. Mas o amor da amante, além de falso, ele é mais perigoso do que qualquer um dos dois que eu acabei de citar. O amor da amante, repito, ele é mais perigoso do que o amor da namorada ou da esposa.
Nossa.
A namorada é só ela e você. E vocês estão livres. A qualquer momento, um pode ir para um lado e o outro para o outro.
Fudeu.
Ela vai para um lado e você vai para o outro. Com a sua esposa, já é mais difícil acontecer isso. Você tem uma estabilidade maior, existe um compromisso maior, embora as pressões sejam maiores. Mas e a amante? A amante, ela não é esposa e nem namorada.
Verdade?
Com a amante você não tem segurança e nem tem liberdade. Repito, com a amante você não tem nem a segurança da esposa e nem a liberdade que você tem com a namorada. Então, o amor da amante é um amor de risco, de alto risco, que pode, inclusive, comprometer não só a sua saúde física, como a sua saúde financeira. Tome muito cuidado se for o seu caso, se você estiver se envolvendo com uma amante. Existem amantes de bom caráter? Tem, mas são poucas.
Que merda de papo de
Porque
doido
se
é
ela é
esse?
amante, ela já sabe que você tem uma esposa. E, nesse sentido, ela já demonstra não ter um bom caráter formado. Então, se você é casado e tem uma, atenção.
Cara, que papo de doido é esse? Tá teorizando pra caralho um bagulho que não tem nada a ver, cara. Cara, se você é casado e tem uma mulher fora querendo te dar, tu vai, mete o peru e tchau, caralho. Que teoria toda é essa, porra? O cara tem teoria pra amante, como se... Puta que pariu. Que porra é essa, cara? Caralho. Que papo de doido. Primeiro que você tem que estar casado pra depois ter uma amante. Que papo de doido é esse, cara? Que porra de maluco é esse? Amizade colorida, vamos ver. Porra, 1 minuto e 25 só. Elas não têm piedade, mas eu quero ver da amizade colorida, vamos ver. Mais uma chance do cara provar que não é maluco, hein? Ó, até agora o cara não tá indo bem, não. Existe amante de bom caráter, que papo é esse? Tem amante boa? Tem, mas amante não presta. Casa em Betinhas. Igual Saquarema atacando a machosfera só porque ele é corno. KKKKK. Ele é red pill, mas um querendo biscoito com o assunto. Porra, ainda bem que ele tá nos alertando sobre amante, não sabia dessa. Dan, como eu te convivo com teus irmãos, mãe, pai, não tem mãe nem pai não, irmão. Meus irmãos eu não converso com ninguém. Danilo, a casa do homem tem muito conhecimento. É, pode ter, mas tá escondido, né? Dan, porque o Sacarema não aceita que é corno e fica atacando a machosfera? Só porque o Magenta mostrou mensagens? É, cara, eu gostaria de saber. Não sei, eu nunca nem vi essas mensagens. E agora eu quero entender sobre a amizade colorida. Eu sou um cara experiente nisso, tá ligado? Então vamos ver o que o cara tem pra falar.
Olá, meu nome é Roger Menezes. Eu sou coach de relacionamento. E nesse vídeo estarei abordando o tema amizade colorida. Se
Esse cara parece uma IA.
Da amizade
Esse cara parece uma voz de IA falando, cara. Que porra é essa?
colorida. Eu acho positiva, muito positiva. Eu acho uma vantagem na vida de um homem, de qualquer homem. Por quê? Porque dá a impressão ou a sensação para aquele homem que existe abundância feminina no planeta.
Calma aí. O cara me faz um vídeo para responder a pergunta: a amizade colorida é boa? Você tá de sacanagem que ele fez um. É por isso que o vídeo tem 1 minuto e 25 segundos, cara. Puta que pariu. Esse cara tem problema, cara. O cara me fez um vídeo de 1 e 25 segundos para começar afirmando, respondendo a pergunta que ninguém sabia a resposta, galera. Ninguém sabia a resposta. Essa resposta, ó. Ninguém sabia que tu ter amizade colorida é boa. Ninguém sabia, beleza? Agora nós cadê? Quem foi que falou que o cara... Agora nós estamos sabendo, galera. Beleza? É por isso que eu entrei nesse vídeo. Eu queria saber, tá ligado? Se a amizade colorida era boa. Porra,
ou pelo menos ao redor dele. Então ele vai se sentir mais confiante, mais charmoso, mais viril, mais másculo. E dessa forma, ele vai se tornar mais atraente. E caso haja uma separação, não vai ser algo traumático para ele. A separação de sua esposa ou de sua namorada não vai ser algo traumático para ele. Vai ser um momento difícil, mas que ele vai superar com mais facilidade.
O que tem a ver a amizade colorida com a separação da esposa ou namorada? Não entendi. Quer dizer que ele tá... Esse é outro vídeo onde ele tá falando para casados? Será que ele é um coach de casados? Não é possível. Não tô entendendo. Eu não tô entendendo. Não tô entendendo. O cara ensina casados a terem amizades coloridas. Que porra esse maluco tá falando, cara?
Porque ele tem outras opções amorosas. Ok? Bom, vou ficar por aqui. Espero que você...
Bom, então você ter uma amizade colorida é bom, porque quando você termina com a tua mulher e com a tua esposa, quer dizer que o cara tá incentivando você a atrair tua mulher ou tua esposa. Beleza, até aí eu entendi. Eu concordo com o cara, atraia mesmo, que se foda, homem pode. Homem pode. Eu adoro falar isso pra mulher, homem pode. Foda-se, homem pode. A mulher fica puta quando eu falo homem pode. Homem pode. Tá ligado? Eu até incentivo. Eu tô entendendo o... Será que ele fez esse texto no chat GPT e o chat GPT falou esse meia dúzia de bosta aí? Porra, ele fala só merda. Achei que ele era um cara da hora. Esquizofrenia pio. Tá na cara que esse cara quer ganhar dinheiro em cima dos betinhas. Porra, ele fala só merda. Isso aqui eu já li. Porra, ter uma amizade colorida é bom, mas ter amante é ruim. Esse cara é um beta querendo ganhar dinheiro em cima dos betinhas. Danilo, faz uma live com Hernani do Sociedade Primitiva. Cara, eu não conheço, não. Depois me passa o Instagram dele, que eu mando mensagem pra ele, chamando ele. Beleza? Lugar de mulher é onde homem quer. É isso aí, galera. Vamos fechar 3 horas aqui. Então, acho que eu vou ver mais um vídeo aqui do como é que é o nome do canal dele? A Casa do Homem. Beleza. Ó! Galera, Mushroom. Mushroom é tipo o lugar dos machos e o nome do canal do cara é A Casa do Homem. Tá ligado? Ó! Tá vendo? Eu faço uma live sobre mensagens que o Magenta expôs. Eu não sei quais mensagens, cara. Tem um vídeo do Magenta? Se tiver um vídeo do Magenta expondo essas coisas, eu faço react amanhã, tá ligado? Me cobrem que eu faço react amanhã. Mas eu não sei, não tô ligado nisso. Sim, então beleza. Amanhã eu vou fazer react. Fechou? Amanhã eu vou fazer o react do Magenta reagindo às provas que provam que o Saquaremo ele é corno. Galera, faltam 6 minutos para fechar as 3 horas, então acho que eu vou ver Elas Não Têm Piedade. Anel de Noivado. Ela Não Te Quer. Ela voltou humilde. Essa aqui eu quero ver. Vamos ver o que ele fez para ela voltar humilde, galera. Essa eu quero ver, porra. Esse é o ensinamento que eu quero, porra. Eu já comi tanta mulher que imagina se eu aplico esse ensinamento, porra, para todas as mulheres que eu já comi. Caralho. Vamos ver.
Olá. Meu nome é Roger Menezes, eu sou coach de relacionamento. E nesse vídeo estarei abordando o tema Ela Voltou Humilde. Veja bem.
Ele até exaltou. Ela voltou humilde. Vamos ver. Tá prometendo,
houve
hein?
rompimento. Houve a separação entre um homem e uma mulher.
Então tá bom. É para ex-casados, beleza. Ou namorados.
Se que for o seu caso, que seja o seu caso, de você que está me assistindo.
Tá.
Que isso tenha acontecido já na sua vida, o que possa acontecer.
Tá.
Vamos dizer que aconteceu com você, que está me assistindo nesse momento.
Tá, já entendi isso, vai.
Ela teve um atrito com você, houve discussão, houve ofensas e houve a separação. Mas ela cuidou da vida dela de maneira digna.
Tá, foi pro lado dela.
De maneira respeitosa para com ela mesma e você também.
Tá, isso quer dizer que ela não saiu dando a buceta por aí. É isso? Beleza. Concordamos com isso. Tá bom. Vamos lá.
Por outro lado.
Uhum.
E o tempo passou
Tempo passou.
e ela retorna até você.
Uhum.
Você sabe que ela não ficou com ninguém, com homem nenhum. E ela volta.
Como é que você sabe? Você tem chip na buceta dela? Calma aí, ele deve ter uma aula de botar chip na buceta da mulher, porque eu perdi essa aula, galera. Talvez eu sou novo no canal dele, me perdoem, mas talvez a aula de pôr chip na buceta da mulher, né? Não é mesmo? Talvez eu tenha faltado, tá ligado? Talvez seja isso. Talvez eu esteja, tá ligado?
Para você. Então isso é um bom sinal. De
Uhum.
alguma forma, ela reconheceu o erro dela. Mesmo que você tenha o seu, mas ela reconheceu o erro dela.
Tá.
Pelo atrito que houve entre vocês.
Então tá bom. Depois que você colocou o chip na buceta dela, descobriu que ela não deu para mais ninguém e voltou, o que a gente faz agora? A gente perdoa ou a gente segue em frente e fala turn down for what? Vamos descobrir. Eu tô descobrindo o canal do cara agora, galera. Eu faltei a aula de botar chip na bucetinha da mulher, tá ligado? Então eu não sei como é que ele faz para descobrir se a mulher se traiu ou não. Porque ele afirmou com tanta certeza, tá ligado? Vamos ver.
Pelo mesmo ter causado a separação. Agora, se ela voltou humilde depois que te humilhou no relacionamento, depois que ela propôs a separação, e depois que ela foi para os braços de outro homem e ficou com ele durante um certo período, e ela está voltando ou querendo voltar para você, e o comportamento dela é de mulher humilde, pode ter certeza que é máscara. É máscara. Não acredite. Nesse sentido, não.
Realmente, então o cara deu a aula do chip. Foi mal, galera, eu faltei a aula do chip. Porque agora ele sabe exato. Olha só como é que o cara é inteligente. O cara joga com a mulher. O cara bota um chip. E a mulher nem sabe, tá ligado? E aí a mulher sai. E aí ele sabe exatamente se a mulher deu ou se a mulher não deu. O cara é um mestre. O cara é o mestre da manipulação. Ele tem um chip invisível que a mulher não sabe. Então, ele tá te ensinando o que você vai fazer depois que você pegou o relatório do chip, tá ligado? Você vai olhar o relatório e vai falar, não, zero. Acho que meu fone de ouvido desligou. Então ele vai olhar o relatório, galera. Ele vai olhar e vai falar, zero. Ela deu para 0 pessoas. Meu chip tá dizendo que ela deu para 0 pessoas. Eu acho que é isso. Tá ligado?
Isso não serve só para as.
Calma aí que eu não tô escutando. Vamos mudar aqui a fonte de áudio. Pronto. Agora eu acho que vai.
Mulheres não, tem homem que faz isso também.
Nossa, tá muito baixo. Cadê o som?
É independente de gênero. Se a pessoa fez tudo isso que eu acabei de citar e está querendo voltar, é máscara. Não virou santo, não virou santa, não mudou. De maneira alguma. É uma máscara e ela vai voltar a cair mais cedo ou mais tarde. O aconselhável é não aceitar essa pessoa de volta. Pode ter certeza disso. E isso serve também para as amizades. Tá certo? Bom, vou ficar por aqui. Eu espero que vocês tenham gostado do conteúdo do vídeo de hoje.
Ô, mestre, ensina a gente. Ensina a gente a ter amizades coloridas, mestre. Ensina a gente. É isso aí, galera. Relato do chip. Essa buceta não foi comida, senhor. Exato. Exato. O cara, eu não sei como é que o cara vai ter esse relatório, tá ligado? Mas, já que ele tá ensinando você a agir depois de ter esse relatório, eu não sei, tá ligado? Como é que ele talvez seja um curso que ele venda. Não sei. Não sei. Como é que ele sabe se a mulher voltou toda estourada ou não? Não sei. Ele vive dos superchats esculachando a mulher dele. E além do mais, é ela que trabalha na casa, entendeu? Quem? Ela tomou só pau e água lá fora, depois quis voltar humilde. Tá falando de quem? Dan. Dá um bisu no último vídeo do Bruce. Bruce. Ô, sem moral, eu quero olhar sim, mas eu vou dar uma olhada aqui rapidinho, mas não vai dar tempo, não vai dar nem para eu fazer o react, porque Cavaleiro Solitário, né? Não é isso? Não dá nem para eu ver, porque meu fone de ouvido já acabou a bateria, tá ligado? Então, eu tô no som do notebook agora. Nem tem como fazer react mais, mas fala comigo amanhã no react que eu vejo, com certeza. Deixa eu compartilhar a tela aqui. Deixa eu ver qual vídeo que estão pedindo. Vejo antes e depois do primeiro caso do Neymar. É esse, galera? Quem é o sem moral? Cadê o sem moral? É esse sem moral? É o do Neymar aqui? Falo contigo no Telegram amanhã. Show de bola. Mas é esse aqui que eu tô te mostrando? Obrigado pela live. E qual horário amanhã? Provavelmente meio-dia. Ou 2 horas, não sei, depende do Guido, tá ligado? Mas eu vou indo depois do Guido. O Taquaremo tem a aposentadoria do país dele. Como assim do país dele? Ele não é brasileiro, não? Like, valeu, The Dog. Brigadão sem moral. Brigadão Zaratustra. Foi mal aí pelo relato do chip. Tá. Sempre que você ler comentário estarei lá. Valeu, irmão. Edson do Carmo. O Manuel Miguel, o Denilson Martins, o Avatar que comentou pra caramba hoje. Brigadão, senhor Silva, sem moral. O Marlon Moraes, o Marcos Vinícius. Valeu todo mundo, galera. O Manuel Miguel, o TG. Ronkcast, tá ligado? O Tyrone, claro, o Tyrone tá sempre aí, porra. O Doni Donovic também. É isso aí, galera. Brigadão aí. Se vocês tiverem um vídeo aí pra eu reagir amanhã, tragam aí amanhã já que joga aqui no chat que eu reajo, beleza? Brigadão aí, todo mundo, pela comparecer. Dá um likezinho aí, comenta aí depois que acabar a live aí, só pra dar uma moral pro canal, dar uma força aí no engajamento e é nóis, galera. Brigadão aí pela força. E pum.
And higher highs, so I don't know how to feel about this one. We'll keep an eye on Microsoft. In case you're just joining us, they are being investigated. U.S. regulators to investigate plan or Microsoft's cloud business. Separately, I should let you know that in Europe, Google is trying to outmaneuver Microsoft in the cloud business by creating this kind of group that is trying, or they're like a group of cloud providers. They made this organization to take on Microsoft, and apparently Google's running this organic group from behind the scenes, trying to outmaneuver Microsoft there. In addition to that, they're also getting the regulators to really give them a hard time out in Europe as well. So this is not the only area. What is this, bro?
What is going on here?
Bimbo, what is this, bro? What is this?
Microsoft.
So that's obviously
Microsoft.
That's Japan, because I can't read any of that.
That's crazy.
Because I can read a little bit of Mandarin, and I can't read any of
Microsoft.
that. Microsoft. That sounds like Ram's doing. It's not. It's Fabian. All right. Shout out to the Chilean Nightmare. All right. It is Japanese. I could tell because I was like, that's definitely not Mandarin. There. I'm studying Mandarin, by the way, guys, in case you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about. Here we go. Bang on Google. We get that third. Obi, how's it looking now? He likes it. He likes it. He likes it. The mean reversion man, or reversion man. No, I know sometimes we call Jerome Powell the reversion man, but in my books, Obi's the reversion man, baby. And he likes it. So we're going up here, Joseph. It's moving up quite nicely. Let's see if we can continue. I'm going to add here, Joseph.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna get back in because we took everything out. We're going to get back in. I'm going to give this to about 20. If a breach is 20, I'm out. I'm going to risk 15 pennies. What are you looking at?
No, just speaking of the EU, and I don't know if you guys, this is old news, it's from yesterday, so you guys might have touched on it as well too, but Apple faces 3.8 billion antitrust legal claim over iCloud in the EU. So I don't know, in the UK, sorry. So I don't know if you guys touched on that yesterday. So that's just a good look there that maybe has some reason why Apple is moving the way it is. But I mean, it's a fine, so why would it be trading higher? But one thing that is not working out for me right now is NVDA, and I'm not loving it right now because we can't seem to break and sit on top of VWAP. But if we hold these levels, I'm going to hold this position until we break lower here. But again, as of right now, I'm not really in sync with NVDA and the semis. Elon, I know your favorite stock is AMD, and I know you absolutely love that thing. So congratulations to you on that one. Wait for a dip to re-engage in AMD, he says. So I mean, I'm over that stock right now until I see it turn around. Otherwise, I'm going to avoid it. There's so much other things that we got going on, so we'll keep that in mind. And someone asked me in the chat too, Mr. M, to touch on some of the options positions that I have going on right now, which I currently do not. But I'm going to tell you why, because what I do have is a bunch of equities positions put on, and there's a specific reason. So we'll go over real quick what I tried to execute on AMD, and it just didn't really work for me from a longer term perspective, because when I bought the options, even though I do create credit spreads, but I'm not creating them right now, but we'll touch on AMD quickly while I bring this up. And I'll get to your super chat as well too, Nick W. Just give me a second. But here, Mr. M, why I don't necessarily have any positions open is because I was looking to play a gap fill, this gap fill here on AMD via options contracts. But what happened is I didn't give myself enough time, and I bought only an extrinsically valuable contract. So the only moneyness it was at the money. So again, I didn't have any intrinsic value on the asset, so I couldn't cash anything in. But again, we didn't get quite where I wanted to, and then I got caught in the position in the pre-market, and then after that, it just never looked back, right? So I wanted to leverage my thesis with an options contract, but it didn't work out. But what I did end up doing, and I have placed a couple trades on CrowdStrike, and I'm currently in GE, but again, I don't have a time constraint, so I'll look to get a little bit more in some GE here to fill this gap, but it's also kind of just selling off right now too, but I didn't want to be in a leverage position until the thesis started to play out, all right? So that's the GE look, and then I also have, what is it that I just played, CrowdStrike as well too. So I used equities on this front to play this gap fill, and then it just absolutely roared. I hit my target from at 3.6. I had 316.96s to 336s. So I got that whole gap fill play, which was absolutely beautiful, and then it exceeded that as well too. But that's why I don't have any options positions right now. I'm kind of equity heavy, but I will be looking to implement some spreads because that is a high percentage of my passive income is creating weekly spreads. So I usually only make 1 or 2 a week just for that little passive income. But as of right now, I don't have any positions because I have a heavy position right now in the swing account in iBit, GE, and some other things as well too. So not in the long term, but in the swing position. So that's why I don't have anything going on with the options front. But we'll get back into that for sure because, like I mentioned, that's a big part of my passive income. All right, guys? Nice. So Joe W., would you mind looking at D-Dog setup on daily versus now? Looks like it's tracing now move. Have a large call option position. Nick W., anything for you, my friend? So D-Dog, Data Dog. I like Data Dog. I know Jimmy Cramer likes Data Dog as well too. So shout out to the guys on Mad Money. And I mean, hey, you're getting that volume starting to pick up here, which is, you know, I like that. We do have some big overhead resistance that we're looking at and we're slamming into and kind of rejecting. If you get anything opening up above this range, then I think you're going to be sitting pretty. But again, you're just going to have to hold. You get an open above this range, maybe you get a gap and go. Shree's fist pumping beside me. So we'll send it over to him shortly, but we'll finish your super chat. D-Dog versus now. Is Google still going? Like, what's going on? All right, so I should have figured. So we'll compare that to now for you, Service Now. Oh, wow, this is an absolute trender. I mean, D-Dog's consolidating a little bit, but again, my take on D-Dog for you is just wait. maybe you get this open above some resistance, and then you can take that next leg higher. But as of right now, you're not looking too bad there, Nick W. So good luck there, my friend. Show them what you got going on there on Google.
Have you looked at Softy, man? Softy is working its way right back up like nothing.
Look at the volume print,
yeah,
right?
Good
so
thing they short this.
Right. So, there's no way. I don't think you short that until the low of that candle is broken, and then there you can say that reversal signal is
legit
invalid if it breaks the low of that.
Said.
But again, until it doesn't, then you can look for that. So yeah, that's a really good look there, brother.
Yeah, man. So here's what I'm looking at on the soft one. Big boy drop. In case you're just joining us, looks like the government's gonna investigate Microsoft and their cloud business, Azure. And right now, we did a nice retracement back into the mean over here, kind of in between the lows and the highs of the day. We're kind of in no man's land at 426.5. No levels for me to chart off here, Softy, but it's up a quarter point. Great recovery. It dropped a lot quicker than it was able to recover. So we'll pack our patience, see what we can get with that. We're still in goggles right now. There's a whole bunch of resistance here at the $0.50. I've set up on the other side of 50. We can't cross on the bit, so somebody's shorting up a storm here or taking profits at the $0.50 level. Unsurprised by that. What I am unsurprised by was the fact that we breezed through that 40 penny area. And the reason I was looking at 40 pennies as a resistance, I made that point before, was this area trough over here at 1106 that we couldn't, we used, as support. So there's a whole lot of chop and churn right now at 175.50 with Google. I'd like ideally to be able to work my way back into VWAP, but you may not get VWAP over here. 176 essentially is where VWAP is. Now, the other side of that coin is we got to keep an eye on the future. Wow. How come? Because the future is rejecting VWAP as well, moving back above 21,100, but it's encountering VWAP, and every single time it's encountered it today, I'm talking about the NQ December contract, it's rejected. Now, it's breached it, obviously, on a wick basis, but quick as you like, 2-3 candle formation, we're back below VWAP. So that's kind of exactly what's happening right now, and Google coming down into my entry again. I don't have a problem with that because we've taken out some shares over here, but I just need to account for Google. Yeah, I need to account for Google while I'm watching the future. So yeah, the future obviously definitely has an effect on these Mag 7 names. Keep that in mind in case you're just new to trading these futures. Guys, Apple's on the way up to 228.43 here, man. 228.50 coming in on the dead one. I mean, could we see 230 today? If we see 230, Joseph, I'm taking some off the table.
You're taking a little. You're going to trim. You're going to trim.
Yeah, I'm going to take off 20%.
All right, I like that. I like that.
I'm going to take some off.
230. So you heard the man himself say it. 230.
I will.
You're going to trim.
I legit will. This is my SIM account, obviously, because I don't want people to see my user account. But we'll log in after the show, and we'll take out some at 230 on Apple because. Dude, I like it.
What are you going to do? Buy some more
lock in some profits.
Some ASML or maybe a little more
Well, yeah, but in due time. Let's see where's that bad boy at right now? That's back into 701. Okay, so it's dropping a little bit here. That's okay. Still up 4% on the day. I mean, I don't want ASML to pop because I don't have a whole lot of position. Big Spile Burdette dropping the cash in the chat. $4.99 super chat. I love mandarins. China, very good. Big Spile. Why do I read your messages?
Yeah, I know.
Why do I read your messages? I can't read that, bro. Who am I? Donald Trump? Come on, I can't do that. Only he gets away with that. No, we do it off camera all the time. We have a good time. Yeah. We have a good time around these places. We don't take ourselves too seriously around here, so everything's good there.
But one thing I don't like, Sharif, is that we're just kind of chopping around below VWAP here on NVDA. So I think the longer that we chop around, the more likely that this breakout to the top side is going to happen. I could be totally wrong on that front, but one thing I always keep in mind, but here we go. I'm eating my own words right now as we speak, so as it continues to crawl higher. But let's see if we can sit on top of VWAP here, and then maybe we look to add there, my guy.
All right.
Show them what you got cooking up on that monster's
Yeah,
apple.
it's not doing. We're chopping and churning right now, Joseph. Looking for that $0.50 break and take, or I'm getting out of dodge. Let's look at some of these small cap gappers though. We haven't been showing these ones much love since there's a reason for that because they're not doing anything. Oh, QBTS, you didn't, you little devil. So this one stopped me out with that 2-candle breach there into 190, and then obviously true to form, it makes a new high a day where we had all our offers layered. Look, this is a mistake by me because I didn't put my stop to account for VWAP, and this didn't breach VWAP. So it's a mistake, lesson learned. I'll try to do better next time, but this was a great setup and poor execution on QBTS, excuse me. Still thinking about QUBT. They're both quantum computing names, by the way. QBTS and QUBT from yesterday. So could have done better on this one. BKSY. So this has been very respectful of the volume weighted average price today, this name. It's up 17.5%. Most of the dips into VWAP have been bought up. We are putting in lower highs and lower lows, though, ever since that crest right at noon. So we'll see if this one wants to hold up at VWAP. I mean, you could eke out 30 pennies, 40 pennies off this bad boy. It's shown its propensity to respect the volume weighted average price. So possibly a trade to be had there. Google is doing our 2-candle red formation over here. So the $0.25 is going to be the stop for my last out there. We've already taken a few outs, but I'd rather not take this out. I'd rather, get that print at 50, but we'll see if Google wants to cooperate, my man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the market's starting to recover, and sure enough, we had that beautiful way to just complement the lesson there. I think of the day is just volume, price announcement. Yeah, exactly. Fabian said it's a good lesson. Exactly. So as we have Apple crawling higher, we're positive on the day with that, nice. And we still have the Qs just down about 0.2% there, as well as SPY. So keep an eye out on those. It's been a little bit of a choppy mess there. We do have Powell at 3 o'clock as well too. So expect some volatility to step in probably around 3 o'clock. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just the dud of a day for the overall markets there. But again, we have Bitcoin slowly crawling back as well too. IBIT sitting just under 51 and Apple at 228.50s now. And I said I think we were going to hit the $0.50 after it broke that 227.5. So it's slowly crawling higher and higher. And then Microsoft just recovering everything that it sold off. So that was a big nothing burger on that one. But I mean, if you caught some of that volatility and you caught the bottom and with those signals, then congratulations to you. That those are really nice trades. But again, I'm just sitting here in NVDA, and we still have the inability to break VWAP here, Sharif. We're still positive on the session, up 1%. I'll pull it up here. But again, I've been sitting in this trade for a little bit now. Better part of a half an hour almost. So let's see if we can break it. Again, I'm gonna need to see that volume step in order for us to confirm that breakout, and then maybe we go and push some support levels down here and see what's going on with that. But as of right now, I'm just sitting on my hands waiting to see if NVDA either breaks up or breaks down, my guy.
I gotta let you guys know, Bloom Energy halted pending news. So not sure what's going on with this one. NYSE halt, Bloom Energy, BE, on the NYSE halted pending news, trading at 13.20. Don't have a reason why this is, I don't know the reason why it's halted. I know it's pending news, obviously, but don't know why. So don't know what the news item is. So keep your eye out on that one. It's down to 2 1/3 today. It's only on my watch. It's on my, thorough watch list is what I'm trying to say, under clean energy and the like. So BE halted, pending news right now. So keep your eye out on that one if you're inclined. But guys, what the hell is Apple doing, bro? Wow.
Yeah,
it's on the way up.
Put your order out there. It's waiting for you. It's saying,
hey, Sharif, if I can't log out.
2:30.
I'm taking out some at 2:30, Katina, man.
So
I'm going to take out probably 20% of the position. It's going to be, we got to take some out, Katina, because we haven't wet our beak at all on that bad boy. So that's what drops trades, what QBTS was doing. Sorry, dog. I mean, sometimes I can see the messages coming in the chat. Sometimes when you're concentrating or I'm not at the desk, I don't see them. This is what he's talking about. It broke. It made a new high of the day. I executed poorly on this. Yeah, tougher look there. All right, so keeping an eye on this. The Katina man is in SMCI right now, and that's his only position. So SMCI, the Katina man's in that right now. What's the look on that? He's short right now in the 60s. So keep that in mind. If you want to follow the Katina Man's trades, we do have another separate channel. It goes by the name of More Trader TV. And you can see Obi's positions and Neil when he's in town. Sean's obviously, and all the different headlines making moves on the day. So if you want, head on over to that channel. What I would do is I would run them simultaneously, keep my eye on both of them. All right. That's all I've got right now. What do you got, Joseph?
Yeah, same thing, man. I'm just chopping around here in NVDA. Are we going to go higher, or do we continue to kind of just chop around, or do we break with some volume, or is NVDA waiting for 3 o'clock for that volume to step in and we get that volume influx, and then it can finally pick a direction? But as of right now, the banger of the day, it seems to be, out of the Mag 7, is absolutely the dead one, as you referred to, Sharif. Apple up 1.5% on the session, still continuing to crawl higher and higher and higher. So that's a good look there on that one. Don't love the daily from this point. We do have definitive support and resistance levels up here. But again, this is all just noise in here. So if you're playing condors, are you market neutral on this ticker, then congratulations to you. And the more that I look at it, Sharif, the more I want to play somewhat of a longer term condor on this position, because as of right now, we don't have anything. And you say you're worried about the tariff, so I'll have to look into that a little bit myself, because as of right now, I like this for a market neutral strategy. Even though we are trending, we are still stuck in this range. So if I create a condor on this position and one side starts to outweigh the other, then I can just close that position and then have a one-legged trade there on that one. But again, I really like this one. I know I'm equities heavy, but the more I see this, I like this consolidation as well as on the Qs. So I'm going to look at some premiums after this and then potentially make a trade based off of that. So I'm looking for a market neutral strategy, as Rivian Millionaire mentioned earlier in the session as well too, and I agree with them, is that we just moved up too fast, too quick, so the market needs to take a break. So I like that look, because I totally agree on that front. And it's the same with Bitcoin as well too. That move was fast and furious. So we'll see if we're going to take a little bit of a breather, which it seems to be doing right now, but also recovering on the day, putting in another, I wouldn't call it an inside session, but we're still trading in a range. So again, I like that look. We moved pretty quick, so the market does need to breathe, and I expect us to do so for the next little while, brother. What do you got going on?
QUBT breaking out, says Nick Dub. Thank you for that, Nick. Let's load up this bad boy on the 5 and have a look. Yes, nice move up there. Just printed the high of the day, the 4 1/4, but keep in mind the pre-market high is 4 2/3, a little bit above that actually, 435. So we're still not above the pre-market high, but as you can look from yesterday's price action, it's been very directional. So if you use the aftermarket, the pre-market, it's been very consistent for this name. So good look, man. Up another 60% today after, what did this close at yesterday? It was up 151% by the time we hit 8 p.m. in the aftermarket there. So nice move up. And then basically from the closing print yesterday, this is not from 8 p.m., but from the closing print to today, we're up 60%, obviously. So good look. 428. Keep your eye out on that one. But there is another small cap gapper that's made its way onto the scene, AGFY. It's halted right now, currently to the downside. Did make a high into $22, halted down into 8 1/4. Did this halt up as well? Yes. So we had one halt up, one halt down. We're still above the volume weighted average price, and I would submit to you $18 or between 17.5 to 18 could be support. The halt level is at 18 1/4. So keep that in mind. That's the down halt level. The up halt level is 19 2/3. Reason I'm mentioning levels, sometimes they act as informal areas of support and resistance, so keep that in mind if you're going to trade this. But I'm going to stay away from this one. I don't like halting names. I'll give you details on it, though. $24 million market cap, 1 2/3 million shares traded on the day with a float of 9.5 million shares, and the short float on AGFY. Let's bring down trade ideas, have a look at the short float. Negligible there, about 2%, not much in the way of a short float, so not really looking for a short squeeze there. It's going to be a 10-minute halt, it looks like right now, because we're still halted on this bad boy. So, yeah, And keep tabs on that one. How we doing on Google? Yeah, just too wishy-washy right now. Looks like we're putting in lower highs on the 5 minutes. So I don't know. I can flatten out here for break even, but maybe this is bull flagging. We'll see. We'll see. Adara's got some for us at the big desk, though. Get it, Adara.
There is a late day money talk segment, which I think is pretty apt because we do have the man himself, Jerome Powell, coming here and stepping to the mic at 3 p.m. We're going to definitely give you all of the details on that because Fed Chair Jerome Powell, this will be his first comments since the Fed meeting last week. Apparently, he is set to speak on economic policies. This could be something definitely to watch out for here. I want to take a look here at the 15-minute chart of the U.S. dollar right now because we took a look at the daily earlier today. On Wednesday, we had this nice push to the upside. Then we get here around 8:30. We get that PPI, which, as a reminder, came in higher than expected for all but the month-over-month print. And then we get that push to the downside. Trying to recover, though, currently here around this 106.67 area. So we have to wait and see what happens here, but it is worth noting we're going to be getting this speech coming through from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Now, tomorrow, we already had CPI and PPI. Tomorrow going to be a bit of a lighter economic data day, but you are going to get retail sales numbers and core retail sales numbers, as well as New York Fed manufacturing there coming through, export prices, and at 9:15 we'll get industrial capacity manufacturing. Then at 10 a.m. we'll get business inventory. So not hugely important data, but we're going to get a lot of it tomorrow morning, guys. See you then. But make sure you take a look here first and look at your ticker of choice, exclamation point join, space, $, and whatever ticker you're looking at, put that in the chat right now because you only have 20 minutes left to do so. If you want to see what Sean and Obi have to say about one of the top 5 tickers, guys.
Thank you very much, Adair. Appreciate that. Look, I don't have a good feeling about what this market is going to do because we got another rejection of the volume-weighted average price on the NQ December contract, and I'm not holding Google if that's going to do that, so I flattened out break-even, and I'm awfully happy that I did because now it's breaking down below my entry. This is what I'm looking at, guys, on the future. It's been a 3 setup rejection. Every single time we seem to work our way from south to north into VWAP, we do a few candle hold up, and now we're dropping again. Once, twice, OB dang thrice, and we're dropping again. We're below 21.1. Let's see if we can make a new low on this because we have lower highs. Let's see if we can continue to make lower lows. We have 2 lower lows over here. 21.1, no, 20,000 just held up by about 16 points or so. So that was a low there that we printed at 1250. We're below VWAP again. It's not the biggest red day in the world. We're down 1/3% on the NQ, so not a bad look. Apple still at near at highs. Google, breaking down. So I'm happy I got out of that one. But Joseph, your analysis on NVIDIA is quite sound, dude, because we're straddling it in a range, but we're straddling VWAP from the south side. Interesting look here. What does, how do you set up on this? Do you play the range? Or are you looking for a breakdown?
I mean, at this point, me personally being slightly long biased, I wouldn't even be looking at this anymore. And I heard Obi mention this before. It's like, well, if the long's not there, then maybe you could potentially flip the short. But sometimes flipping your bias isn't that necessarily easy. So for me, I would just avoid this stock. I would look for something that's more trending, has a little more conviction in the price action. But again, from that standpoint, I took the L on that one. I do think it's going to break down, but I'm also not going to chase the position either.
Fair. I respect that. I mean, that's kind of similar to how I was thinking about that. I wouldn't want to chase the monster NVIDIA. I mean, you know how that kind of sometimes works.
You know what I mean? I don't want to necessarily be shorting the strongest thing on the planet either at the moment too, right? So I get, right? So that's just me. So that's it. I'm not saying that it can't be shorted, but that's just something, me being slightly long biased, I'm not going to try to just force something, as I like to say, milk a stone, which so.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So yeah, that's just me.
BTCT, guys, one that was made infamous, or famous, not infamous, famous by the Katina man because he was taking multiple dollar winners in the pre on this. And it's setting up a nice little pattern here. So it's it's not actually negative, it's up 10%, but very much near the lows. And why am I talking about it? Because it seems to be incrementally making higher highs and higher lows. You got a bit of an upward channel here. What I was looking for was definitive areas of support and resistance that are flipping. What do I mean by that? So you guys heard me wax poetic, to use an Adair term, about that $19 top that we had been putting essentially in the morning, and about $17.5 bottom. Now, what I was looking for was that 19 top, once it gets breached, to actually act as support. It hasn't given you that though. So I'm really hesitant to want to use that strategy in
So you can see 30-second chart here.
It once with the 10 grand opportunity. Go ahead and do it with 10 grand of real money. If you want to go in 10 minis on a 10 grand of real money, they're willing to take that risk, and that makes sense. But they're not willing to
It's 1:40 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long here in Bloomberg. We are looking at a further retreat for the U.S. stock market with the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ 100 index, and the Russell 2000 all in the red. Stocks losing steam today. We've got the S&P down 22 right now, a decline of 0.4%. So the S&P now at 59.63. The Dow is down 178 points, down 0.4%, and NASDAQ down 56, a decline of 0.3%. The Russell 2000 index of small cap shares leading the losses, down 1.1%. 10-year at 4.40% with a 2-year today at 4.28%. Spot gold, little change, down 0.1%, 25.70 the ounce. Crude, West Texas Intermediate up 0.1%, 68.53 a barrel. And Bitcoin holding close to 90,000 right now, 89,000. It is up by about 0.5%. We're keeping an eye on automaker shares. They are lower after Reuters reported that President-elect Donald Trump plans to eliminate the $7,500 consumer tax credit for EV purchases. Shares of Rivian down by 12.3%, Tesla tumbling 4.7%. Another story we're keeping an eye on, Federal Trade Commission preparing to launch an investigation into anti-competitive practices at Microsoft's cloud computing business. That according to the FT, citing sources. Microsoft shares, they're up now by 0.2%. Recapping, stocks losing steam, S&P down 22, down 0.4%. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. Keeping eyes on Wall Street for us as we cover politics live from Washington. Thanks for being here on Bloomberg TV and radio. I'm Joe Matthew alongside Kaylee Lyons. It's the Thursday edition of Balance of Power with still many questions about the appointments that we're hearing and will still hear from Donald Trump as he fills out his cabinet. Much of the view, Kaylee, has been domestic, but there's a deliberate effort here at Bloomberg to keep our eyes on geopolitics with a lot of questions about what another Trump administration will mean specifically for Ukraine and the Middle East. Antony Blinken is back overseas, by the way, not to deal with the matter of Israel. He went to Europe, went to Brussels to talk to NATO about Ukraine as the administration tries to get the remaining money and material from the $61 billion relief package for Ukraine out the door, Kaylee, before the inaugural.
Well, yeah, as they're trying to perhaps Trump-proof this to the extent that they can, knowing that both the president-elect and the vice president-elect have expressed skepticism about continued U.S. support financially for Ukraine. And then there's, of course, the other people who could join this administration to consider here as well. We learned yesterday that Senator Marco Rubio of Florida will be tapped for Secretary of State. Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard will be Director of National Intelligence. Yep. We've gotten a number of picks that raised many foreign policy questions. Of course, before that, Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary, and Elise Stefanik tapped for ambassador to the UN.
Did you put together the mosaic here? If you're with us on Bloomberg TV or on YouTube, you can see it in real time. It does make you wonder what the administration's approach will be, Kaylee, remembering Donald Trump said he would end this war in Ukraine on day one.
So we want to get more on the ongoing war in Ukraine and how this administration could approach it, this incoming administration, and turn to Melinda Herring. She is non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. Welcome back to Balance of Power, Melinda. As we assess those who could help shape Donald Trump's foreign policy in this second administration, and specifically the language we have heard from them on Ukraine, what do you make of the picks so far? How do you think Ukraine feels about them?
Hey, Kaylee. So we don't know a lot at this point. Ukrainians were relieved at the choice of Secretary of State and also at the National Security Advisor. Both Rubio and the congressman are internationalists. And the congressman in particular, the future National Security Advisor, Mr. Waltz, has a strong record on Ukraine. His votes have been good for his record. He's met with Ukrainian soldiers. He gets it. So I think Ukraine felt a huge sense of relief at those two appointments.
What does Pete Hegseth specifically bring to the effort, knowing that he's looking to house clean at the Pentagon? We can attack this from a couple of different ways here, Melinda. Foggy Bottom is one, the State Department. The other, though, is the Pentagon itself and the promise to fire scores of generals. What would that mean for intelligence sharing, for strategic gathering when it comes to Ukraine?
Hey, Joe, I think the Pentagon nomination is one that gives people a lot of pause right now. It's not very clear what this gentleman would bring to the table in terms of his managerial chops. When you zoom in and look at Ukraine, the Pentagon has been critical in making sure that all of the weapons that Congress has appropriated get there on time. And this gentleman seems to be occupied with a lot of domestic concerns. So I think the foreign policy crowd in Washington is very skeptical of this nominee.
Okay, so if we're looking at potential areas in which there is concern over those who will be in the incoming Trump administration in the U.S., Melinda, is there going to be the ability to make up for that in other allies around the world? Is Europe going to be able to step in where the U.S. might not, or is there really no hope for Ukraine if U.S. military and financial backing does not continue?
There's always hope, and there's always hope for Ukraine because Ukrainians are determined, and this is an existential fight. So even though some of the current nominees raise more than an eyebrow, give me anxiety at night, pick whatever analogy you like, they are not confirmed. They may not make it through the confirmation process. And the attitude in Kiev is a lot chiller than it is here in Washington. Their attitude is, we can work with anyone. We will find the right argument and we will make the case because Ukraine must have assistance. And Europe is stepping up. Europe has been freaking out for the last week. And they realize that they haven't put their defensive lines in place. They haven't stepped up manufacturing to the extent that they need to. And I think they're finally freaking out. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for European security. It's a good thing for U.S. taxpayers as well.
Talk to us, Melinda, about what is being prepared for shipment, whether it's money or material, military gear. What does the administration have left that it is so determined to send over before January?
Yeah, Joe, this is the really important question. So Jake Sullivan, the current national security advisor, has said that the $5.5 billion remaining on the books will be in Kiev by January 20th. It will be Trump-proofed. Now, I've been making some phone calls and talking to people on Capitol Hill, and that's not what I'm hearing and seeing. According to some of the conversations I've had, Joe, only 20 to 25% of that kit that the Ukrainians really need, and it's very hard now, will arrive by January 20th. So apparently the White House decided to put this military equipment on to ship it by sea rather than to fly it in. So this is a big problem, and I hope the White House can speed it up because Ukrainians are depending on it.
Well, let's talk about something else Ukraine is dependent on, because wars are not just fought with actual ammunition and weapon. They're fought with information and the ability to communicate. And I wonder, Melinda, what your reaction is to the role we are seeing Elon Musk now play in his closeness to the president-elect, the role he will serve, we understand, as the co-head of the Department of Government Efficiency, knowing that he has the power to influence the operations of Starlink, and according to reporting, has even discussed that matter with Vladimir Putin.
Right. So this is a relationship that I'm going to continue to watch. We don't know how it's going to evolve, but the fact that Musk is involved in the conversations over Russia and Ukraine means that it's important and that it will be an elevated issue in the early days in the Trump administration. So unfortunately, I don't think we can speculate much more beyond that. It's something I'm watching.
Melinda, if Donald Trump's idea of ending this war on day one includes a settlement that gives Russia all of the occupied territory that it's taken, from the Donbass all the way down through Crimea, does he have a willing partner in President Zelensky, or is that a deal breaker?
So I don't know. So right now, Zelensky is saying no territory, but the conversation in Kiev has switched from territory, Joe, to security guarantees. And I think that's the area where the Ukrainians are not going to give whatsoever. They've said, even if we freeze the conflict now, even if there's some kind of DMZ zone, we know that the Russians will come back at us, and we can't live in peace. This is not a just peace. And it's interesting that Donald Trump has used the phrase just peace. It's also interesting. So Trump made a lot of promises. There's a lot of campaign rhetoric. He said that he will end the war in 24 hours. I'm sorry, that's not possible, but it's instructive to go back and look at his record. So when he pulled out of the Iran deal, it took them 16 months to do it. So I think Donald Trump is likely to find out that he makes these big, bold promises, but the actual implementation is quite sticky. And he's not not going to want to put himself, especially in the early days in his administration, in a weak footing. If he were to freeze aid on January 20th, there's going to be egg all over the United States face, and the Chinese are watching us and what we're doing in Ukraine. I don't think Donald Trump can afford that, and I think he is probably going to pivot back to a Reagan-esque theme of peace through strength.
As we consider what's actually happening in Ukraine now, Melinda, obviously there has been in the last several weeks a lot of focus on the fact that North Koreans are now involved in this conflict. What actually has that done to change conditions on the ground and the actual operations and abilities of Russia and the way in which Ukraine has to respond?
Kaylee, it's making the infusion of these 10,000 North Korean troops up in Kursk Oblast is making it more difficult for the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are short on men and shells right now, and the pressure is really on. Is it decisive? No, but it increases the pressure, and it's also winter, and the winter season is going to be hard, cold, and brutal, and I expect pretty severe blackouts if the Russians continue their missile strikes, which they have been over the past week.
You know, we're assuming as a premise of this conversation, Melinda, and maybe rightfully so, I guess that's my question, should we assume that this new Congress, with Republican control of both the House and Senate, would not approve any further funding for Ukraine?
Joe, I'm not willing to concede that yet. So there was a lot of hope for a supplemental bill, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen in this lame duck period. But look, you and I have had lots of conversations about Speaker Mike Johnson. He cares about Ukraine. He cares about the Christians that are being persecuted by Russia there. He has personal relationships with a lot of Ukrainians, and he knows what's at stake. And a majority of Republicans still support Ukraine. So I'm definitely not giving up on Congress. There's bipartisan support for Ukraine on Capitol Hill, even in Trump's second term in office.
Well, I guess we'll see if that bipartisan nature is enough to get things over the finish line in this upcoming Congress when there's a lot domestically that they want to get done. Melinda, President Biden is about to make another trip overseas, one of his last as president. He's going to be meeting with Xi Jinping tomorrow on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Peru. He'll then be heading to the G20 in Brazil. How do you think Ukraine is going to factor into the conversations that will be had over the course of the next several days?
So I know that Taiwan and many other allies in the Pacific are watching to see if America will live up to its promise. We've made a lot of promises on Ukraine, and our actions have a big and resounding impact, particularly in Asia. So I think that our actions are being watched very carefully, and that's sort of what I expect to see and be a focus of that discussion.
Melinda, it's great to have you back with us, non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, with clearly a lot of questions that have to be answered about the way the Trump administration, incoming and the incoming Republican majority in the House and Senate, will handle the matter of Ukraine. Melinda, thank you, as always, for the insights. And we hope to continue the conversation as we learn more here, Kaylee. It really reminds us of how many plates we have in the air. As we talk about domestic policy, today it's the IRA and tax credits for EVs making news. But the situation in Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East, where there's now apparently a drive for a ceasefire that might coincide with the inaugural, with Hezbollah specifically, really worth watching as we see this transition take place.
Well, and of course, one of the visual elements of that transition that we saw yesterday was a sit down between President Biden and President-elect Trump at the White House. And according to Jake Sullivan, who took part in the White House briefing yesterday afternoon, foreign policy did feature heavily on that agenda for that conversation, though we didn't get a full readout. We certainly do expect both the current leader and the one who will be leading the country moving forward after January 20th did talk about these topics in the middle of all of the other news Donald Trump was bringing us in regard to the composition of his second administration.
The next big meeting to look for will be in person. President Zelensky and Donald Trump, they are working on putting that together, according to Bloomberg reporting, and that could be happening anytime between now and the inauguration. We'll see if Elon Musk emerges in that meeting. But we've got a lot more to follow. To Kaylee's point, we've been getting a lot of these appointments in the second half of the day. Treasury still outstanding. Health and Human Services still outstanding, along with a couple of others. We'll put it all together for you in the late edition of Balance of Power at 5 p.m. Washington time.
Yeah, commerce, energy, agriculture. There is a big cabinet to fill out of just ones that need Senate confirmation and more still that we could learn about who won't require that check. So come back at 5 p.m. for more coverage in the late edition of Balance of Power. Myself, Kaylee Lyons, and Joe Matthew right here on Bloomberg TV and radio.
This is Bloomberg Business Week. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine. Plus, global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Tim Stenevec on Bloomberg Radio.
And a very good afternoon, everybody. Live on radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. This is Bloomberg Business Week for this Thursday, November 14th. And gotta say, Tim, it looks like stocks, I don't know, take your pick. Taking a breather, getting tired, losing steam, and maybe this makes sense considering the run-up that we've seen in stocks since the election.
Look, I'll say yes, 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 and yes.
Well
All
done.
of the above certainly makes sense. We're seeing the Dow down half a percentage point, the S&P 500 down half a percentage point, still shy of that 6,000 mark on the S&P 500.
Yeah, and if you take a look at it, I mean, the S&P 500 kind of still hovering near those technically overbought levels. So we kind of get it. We kind of get it. This S&P up 25% so far this year, up 3% since the election. So, all right, we're going to table that for a moment because our focus on this Thursday, Tim, all about Fed Chair Jay Powell.
Yeah, we're gonna hear from him in a little over an hour. Also, we got another read today on inflation. He's getting ready to give a speech. We are, of course, going to be carrying that for you live. He's out there in Dallas. We expect him to start speaking at about 3 p.m. Wall Street time.
Not just a speech, it's Q&A, so it'll be interesting to see like what that first question might be. All right, plus we're going to get into the Trump team. Donald Trump continuing to pick those who will help him carry out his mandate. We're going to talk about that because there seems to be a common thread.
Also, the magic is back, but not in all parts of the kingdom. Even so, Disney shares just soaring today. Carol, hope that's one of your gainers.
Yeah, nice tease ahead. Deep
Okay, it
tease,
is.
deep
All right,
tease.
good.
Hey, listen, folks, and we've also got the bargain hunters that are circling Chicago mansions abandoned by the rich. It is not just we poor folk who lose money on homes. Apparently billionaires do as well.
Michael Jordan finally sold that home.
Yeah.
It's been on the market forever.
At a loss?
At a loss, yes.
At a loss.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to
He'll be okay.
He'll be okay. All right, folks, we're going to get into that, all of it, in the next 60 minutes. First up, though, let's get a check on the trade and your top business stories. Here is the one and only Charlie Pellet.
All right, thank you very much indeed. We got lots going on this Thursday. Stocks, though, losing traction right now following that furious post-election rally. S&P right now trading lower, down 25, 59.60. A drop right now of 0.4%. Dow Industrials down 174, decline of 0.4%. NASDAQ also down by 0.4%. Russell 2000 index of small cap shares, though particularly hard hit today, down 1.1%. Your 10-year 4.41%, with a 2-year 4.29%. Gold down 0.1%, 25.70 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up 0.3%. WTI 68.66 now on WTI. Bitcoin up 0.8% at 89,371. President-elect Donald Trump's transition team plans to kill the $7,500 consumer tax credit for EV purchases. That, according to Reuters, citing two sources. Today, we're looking at Tesla shares down 5.1%, and also moving lower, Rivian Automotive, it is down by 12.3%. So again, recapping, the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all trading lower, with the S&P right now down 24, a decline of 0.4%. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, got it. Charlie Pellet, thank you so much. Hey, listen, folks, in less than 60 minutes, Fed Chair Jay Powell, he will take to a stage in Dallas, give up a speech on the U.S. economic outlook. He's going to take some questions. His comments coming, of course, just 1 week after the last Fed meeting and Fed move, and a little more than 1 week ago from the U.S. election. So there's, needless to say, a lot that's been going on.
Yeah, setting it all up for us is Bloomberg News international economics and policy correspondent Michael McKee, who joins us from our Boston bureau. Mike, you're up there in Boston because you're getting ready to talk to President of the Boston Fed, Susan Collins. It's happening tomorrow. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Today, though, the data points that we got on inflation, also what we got on the U.S. labor market, what do we need to know?
Well, basically, the labor market hasn't changed at all. 217,000 initial jobless claims. A lot of the claims that were filed after the hurricanes gone out of the data. So it appears that if we get any kind of snapback from the October numbers, we'll see a stronger job performance than we did in the prior month. The inflation numbers are more worrying in the sense that PPI today sort of confirmed what we saw with CPI, that inflation has sort of stalled above the Fed's 2% target, with the core rate at 3.5% going up. The headline rate went up as well to 2.4%. So inflation's still an issue, and this leaves open the question of, does the Fed pause in December? A lot of data between now and then, but we also have Jay Powell's speech this afternoon, and maybe he'll give us some of his thoughts on inflation.
All right, you're teeing us up for the Fed chair. So tell us about, is he on a mission here in terms of a narrative? We've heard from a lot of Fed speakers since that that Fed decision, Mike, what's the game here for Fed Chair Jay Powell?
I would suggest that basically he's going to do what they did and say the Fed is committed to bringing interest rates down to a more normal level without saying what that level is, while at the same time saying there's no preset path or preset condition for doing so. They want to leave themselves maximum flexibility. They have more inflation reports, another labor report before the next meeting. And of course, going forward into 2025, we have all of Donald Trump's economic policies, whatever they may be, whatever effect they may have on the economy. So I would suspect we'll get much the same as we have heard from other members of the Fed and that we heard from Powell last week, that the economy is doing pretty well. The labor market and inflation are kind of in balance, and they can probably cut rates going forward, but they're not guaranteeing any particular cut at any particular time.
Hey, I want to bring in some breaking news here. We're seeing a post on Truth Social from the president-elect Donald Trump, who writes that, I respect Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase greatly, but he will not be invited to be a part of the Trump administration. I thank Jamie for his outstanding service to our country. There's an exclamation point at the end of that one, Carol. So
short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Maybe puts to rest some of the, I would not say recent chatter.
No, and
I would not say recent chatter.
I'd almost like to say that there was more speculation about Jamie Dimon being a part of a Harris administration than potentially a Trump administration. Although we should point out the first go round with Donald Trump that Jamie Dimon was part of those business councils that were up there at the White House, kind of initially on advising Donald Trump in his first term. So interesting to get some clarification on that. You know, Mike, it is interesting as we continue to hear who might be a part of Donald Trump's cabinet, his team, his Treasury Secretary. He's, we're assuming Jay Powell will stay in his position. But I don't know. How are you thinking about some of these nominees that might be important, certainly to the U.S. economy and potentially, I don't know, not supposed to impact the Fed, but I do wonder how you kind of tie it all together.
Well, the president-elect has basically put his national security team in place. We're waiting now for the economic team. There had been talk of Jamie Dimon serving somebody as Treasury Secretary. Dimon had kind of made it clear before the election that while he wasn't endorsing anyone, he would be open to working for a Harris administration. And Jamie Dimon's wife actually worked on the campaign for Kamala Harris. So it's a little bit like that tweet is a little bit like saying, you can't quit me, I'm fired. He wasn't going to go to work for him anyway. So
you can't play with me, but you weren't invited anyway, right?
It is important to see who we get as Treasury Secretary. The leading names, Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick. Either one has a lot of street credibility. When I say street, I mean Wall Street. And so they would come into office perhaps with a little more luster than most of the president-elect's other names, other than, say, Marco Rubio, who has been nominated for Secretary of State.
Hey, listen, Lutnick and Dimon are calling. They've got some street cred as well. I mean, the regular street, too, as well. I'm just telling you. Hey, listen, Jay Powell's going to make some comments. He's going to give a speech, but he's also going to take Q&A. If you were asking Jay Powell a question at this event, what would be the number one question you would ask him?
Well, I think I would go straight to the idea of do they pause in December or do they pause in January? December because maybe the economy is not developing quite as they would like. Inflation seems a little stuck. Do they want to keep the pressure on inflation? And then in January, they're meeting, I think it's 9 days after the president's inauguration. So do they want to wait and see what they get from Donald Trump, who has promised to move very quickly? And if he's going to institute some executive orders on day one that would affect the economy, then maybe they want to pause and model those and see what's going to happen. So I think I would question the timing more than anything else at this point.
Okay, that would be your question for Powell today. Without giving away everything, you're going to talk to Boston Fed President and CEO Susan Collins tomorrow. Give us an idea of how you are thinking about the conversation, especially in the wake of the data that we've gotten, what we heard from Jay Powell last week, and of course the election.
Well, Powell talked about at his news conference how we'd seen the labor market data impacted by the hurricanes and that we might see other data impacted by the hurricanes. So we want to look at beyond the data what these Fed Bank presidents are hearing from companies and consumers in their districts. I asked Jay Powell what CEOs were telling him. He said, I don't talk to a lot of them. So it's the Fed Bank presidents who will give us the information. Are they still planning on hiring, or are they starting to get together some plans to let people go if the economy starts to slow down? What do they think about prices going forward? Those are key questions, and these are the people who are the sort of the tip of the spear for the Fed in finding those things out.
Sounds like Jay Powell reads the Beige Book as well, so to get all that insight. All right, Michael McKee, we are certainly going to be looking forward to your speech there with Susan Collins, and of course, we're going to be looking forward to Jay Powell. Bloomberg News international economics and policy correspondent Michael McKee there in our Boston bureau. Remember, we will be carrying live Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell's comments on the economic outlook from the Regional Chamber, Dallas Fed, and World Affairs Council of the DFW. That will be at 3 p.m. Wall Street time, and again, we will carry it
What
live.
would you ask him?
What would I ask
Yeah.
him? Oh, a new rate, a new normal rate in terms of inflation, because I think it's trending higher. And are they not going to kind of give in on that until it's just so obvious?
You didn't.
What would you ask?
I would go straight to politics. I know he wouldn't answer it, but I'm just trying to get some sort of clarity, some sort of color of the way he's thinking about these next 2 years.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate that.
All
Year and a
right.
half, next year and a half.
You know who is thinking about the next year and a half or the next 4 years is Meta. We want to get to the possibility of Meta being in the crosshairs of Donald Trump's second term.
Yeah, because in case you didn't notice, it's been a tough week for Meta platforms since the election. So writes our own Kurt Wagner. So off to Denver we go, into Bloomberg News technology reporter Kurt Wagner, who's there standing by. He's also the author of Battle for the Bird, Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk, and the $44 billion fight for Twitter's soul. So Kurt, about 1 week since the election, remind everybody where Mark Zuckerberg sort of sits in terms of the Elon Musk universe and the Donald Trump universe.
Yeah. Well, Elon, I would say, is one of his biggest nemeses. He's someone who, has sparred with him, not literally, unfortunately, for all of us. You may remember that there was supposed to be some type of
cage match, right?
The cage match never happened.
That's right. The cage match never happened, but it hasn't stopped those two from kind of trading insults, trading criticisms over time. But with Donald Trump, it's a little bit more complicated, right? Because Meta did, ban the president for 2 years after January 6th. He was brought back onto the platform, but earlier this year, he called Facebook the enemy of the people. He said one of the reasons he doesn't think TikTok should be banned is because it would help Meta, it would help Facebook, and he doesn't want to help them, right? Now, more recently, it's gotten a little bit nicer. Mark Zuckerberg has certainly attempted to do his part for that relationship. He congratulated Trump after the election victory. He called his actions after the assassination attempt badass. You may remember he said that actually with our own Emily Chang in that interview. And Trump has said he's not nearly as upset at Mark Zuckerberg as he used to be because he thinks that Meta is less involved in elections, right? So it's a complicated relationship. I point out all of that detail simply to say that we're heading into a bit of an unknown, right? Historically, these two over the last couple of years have had a lot of tension. They seem to be making a little peace, but as we know with Donald Trump, things can change very quickly.
All right, but get into the specifics. I mean, TikTok may not go away. It looks like Donald Trump backing off that. That's more competition for Meta, and it's also its X-clone threat. I mean, there's a couple of components here.
There are. So I think the biggest one is this TikTok element, right? So there's a lot of speculation now that maybe TikTok won't be banned, or at least it would be a lot harder to ban TikTok with Trump in the White House. He has been on the record publicly saying he doesn't think there should be a ban. And as a result, people are saying, well, maybe he'll try and step in and stop this thing. Well, the biggest loser in that situation is Meta, right? Because Meta stands to benefit the most if TikTok goes away. They have a TikTok clone called Reels that they do short form video on. They would, probably immediately get millions, if not tens or hundreds of millions of new people just coming over to watch Reels instead of TikTok if it wasn't around. And it seems less likely that's the case. So there's one. The other, as you mentioned, is that, for a long time, the past year or so, Threads, which is Meta's kind of X clone, has been really alone as the real competitor to Elon Musk's X. Well, Blue Sky is having a moment, as you both may know, and it suddenly feels like that service has been revived too. So a lot more competition for Meta and its products today than I think there was, a week and a half ago at election time.
Okay, so that's on the one hand. On the other hand, Meta's made some moves recently that have been pretty good, you write, about the recent glasses that came out that people are actually really seeming to enjoy.
Yeah, so there are a few things. A few years ago, I'm sure you both recall, Meta came out and talked about the metaverse, right? And it was this big kind of flat landing. People were not excited. People were saying, why are you spending money on this? Why is the company pivoting towards this? There was a slow kind of recognition that perhaps Mark Zuckerberg may have been premature to that effort. Well, the more recent stuff that they've been doing is been talking about AI and talking about, these new augmented reality glasses called Orion, which we saw for the very first time in September. And these have been more of a hit, at least, initially, than I think the metaverse ever was. It's been more of a hit than I think maybe people even expected for a hardware device coming out of Meta. And so on the one hand, they're dealing with all of these issues around competition. On the other hand, they're kind of, they delivered something, or excuse me, it's not available yet, but they've unveiled something that I think a lot of people see a lot of potential in with these augmented reality glasses. And so I think that has given them a little bit more of a shot than perhaps I would have expected a few months ago.
I just want to, you said something there that's so important. They're not actually available for sale. These are just prototypes, but the people who've actually gotten their hands on them, Kurt, they really like them. We have no idea how much these things would cost if they ever do even end up in the wild.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've actually, I got a demo of them in September. I thought that they were very cool. They're certainly not ready for mass consumption yet. They're still too thick. They're not really stylish enough for people to wear around without looking, kind of dweeby, but I think there is a path here that people see. I think I saw one analyst note when it came out that was like, is this Meta's iPhone moment, right? Like, is this the device for them? Now, to be clear, that's a huge claim. We have no idea. But the fact that that's even being floated as a possibility is a great sign for someone like Meta, who's, as you know, never really delivered like a mass mainstream hardware device before.
Hey, just a few other things I want to throw at you at the bad week that was. Some of it certainly Trump related. There's an FTC antitrust lawsuit. I also feel like, there's the story today that the company's paying, $841 million being fined by EU regulators over classified ads dominance. There's overseas regulatory issues, not necessarily a Trump issue, but other things that are going on.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic, right? Before earlier in this conversation, I was talking about how they're suddenly getting more competition, perhaps from Blue Sky or TikTok sticking around. In the same week, in the same breath, they had two huge antitrust sort of losses this week. The one is that the FTC's antitrust lawsuit against Meta and progress. It will go to trial. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen at trial, but just the fact that it's still, moving its way through the court system is not what Meta wants. It's not what Meta was petitioning for. So that, is advancing. In the EU, they're similarly faced, you mentioned this $840 million fine for antitrust-related reasons. The claim is that their marketplace product, it's basically their Craigslist competitor, is attached to their social network. And so the EU regulators are saying, hey, this shouldn't have been connected. It should have been its own thing. That's an antitrust violation. They got hit with this big fine as well. So a lot of competition and yet still getting dinged for being anti-competitive.
Hey, just quickly, 30 seconds left here. Hey, listen, if this doesn't work out, this Meta Platforms thing doesn't work out for Zuckerberg, he can always kind of lean on his singing career, right?
Oh man, I can't believe you're going to subject all of our listeners here to bringing this up. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg has a new single. I won't go much further than that. I know. If you go listen to it, please let us know what you think about it. It is something to behold. Let me tell you.
All right.
You get to the
Don't
point,
leave us yet, though. You can listen to it later on.
You get to the point when you're Mark Zuckerberg, you got so much money. You do
cage
commission
fights
you commission a statue of your wife, give it to her for a gift. You do a song with T-Pain. It's fine.
Spouses and partners. That's a tough thing to beat. All right, coming up next, the top qualifications for getting a job.
minutes, 2:21 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long here at Bloomberg. We have got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all losing traction today, with the S&P 500 index down 24 right now, a drop of 0.4%. Dow Industrials down 142, down 0.3%. NASDAQ is retreating 84, down 0.4%, while the Russell 2000 index of small cap shares down now by 1%. The 10-year 4.41%, the 2-year 4.28%. Spot gold up 0.1%, little change there, $25.74 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up 0.5%, $68.74 a barrel, and Bitcoin now up by 1%, 89,560 on Bitcoin. President-elect Donald Trump's transition team plans to kill the $7,500 consumer tax credit for EV purchases, that according to Reuters, citing two sources. Shares of Tesla down 5.5% right now, and Rivian Automotive down by 11.9%. Capri Holdings and Tapestry have scrapped their $8.5 billion plan to merge after a court order froze the proposed combination of the U.S. fashion companies due to antitrust regulators' objections. Tapestry up 12.7%, Capri up by 6.4%. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. So I teased before the break how to get a job, and what I really meant was how to get a job in the Trump administration.
Okay.
So, talk about a tease.
Yeah, that's harder than just getting a job.
Well, it seems like there's a common thread. President-elect Donald Trump has been definitely fast and furious in filling out his list of nominees for top cabinet and administration posts. As he names names, one qualification continues to jump out, and that is loyalty.
With more, let's get to Bloomberg News senior reporter covering U.S. foreign policy, Ian Marlowe. Ian joins us from our Washington, D.C. bureau. Ian, the naming process for members of his cabinet for his administration, too, they've poured out rapidly. Give us an idea of the one trait that at this point is clear, it's evident, one actually needs in order to serve in the next Trump administration.
Yeah, we kind of saw this last time with the parade of people who came through, obstructed him, got in fights, and then were fired and wrote kind of tell-all books about their White House experience. This time around, it is loyalty first. And these appointees, some of them nominations, some of them were floated. These people have a wide range of ideological views, some quite interesting picks, some of which have surprised, the foreign policy and national security establishment here in D.C. But the one thing that they all do have in common is fighting for Trump, doing it on TV, doing it well, and if they ever had a disagreement with him, they've made their peace and kind of come around, basically. So that's the one thing that's sort of uniting all of these picks, and which has led us to some kind of very peculiar ones. In particular, his defense secretary, who the headlines around here were, "Who is this guy?" Pete Hegseth, for example.
Well, obviously they're not weekend viewers of Fox and Friends, or else they'd know who he was.
Wait, so before we get into that, though, Ian, I want to take a step back, devil's advocate a little bit. Many would say, hey, listen, every administration has loyalists and people who have been on the campaign trail and stumped, for the candidate, now then president. So, I mean, there's a fair amount of that, but you're saying this is just on a whole other level?
Yeah, I think it's just this time around, I think there's a lot of people who, he's broken with people over the past couple of years, in particular over January 6th. There were the Never Trumpers and others. I think this time around, he's really reached into Congress in particular, with Matt Gaetz, his nomination for Attorney General, Mike Waltz, his pick for National Security Advisor, people who he views as just effective effective people for his ideas and his agenda. It's been difficult as a Republican in Congress and elsewhere to oppose Trump's agenda. He can kind of give the kiss of life or kiss of death for your campaign or election prospects in some of these cases. But people made this point to me over the past few months. a president has the right to pick who he wants to choose. And I think a lot of people last time around stood in his way when he tried to implement some of these ideas that he had. A lot of Democrats find these views, and these policies offensive, but whether it's deporting lots of people or pursuing other policies in the Mideast and elsewhere, but it's his prerogative as president, and a lot of people around this town, especially with the mandate that he got this time around, think it's his due right. So no one's kind of standing in his way. I think there's just a bit of surprise at who these some of these picks are, and some of them not all coming in with a long sort of backlog of experience in some of the departments they're being named to head.
And you have to wonder if that's going to come to head at all in the Senate, in the confirmation process, which we're going to get to in just a second. But as you're speaking, I'm reminded of some of the folks in the first administration who did at first appear incredibly loyal, but then did see stuff that they didn't approve of and chose not to endorse the president-elect the second time, or the third time he ran, I should say. Somebody like Mike Pence, for example, who spent 4 years being a loyal vice president, but ultimately, post-January 6th, did not support the president-elect. And I wonder if there will be situations like that once again, not necessarily a direct corollary to what happened to Mike Pence, but people who start out loyal and then might have a change of heart, or if these folks are different.
Yeah, that's very true, and Trump likes to keep people on their toes, and so to some degree, having that sort of friction, I think, is going to be inevitable. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be some infighting. There's going to be leaks and positioning. One thing people did point out to me was that he came out as part of this process publicly kind of said, I'm not going to choose Mike Pompeo. I'm not going to choose Nikki Haley, people who had crossed him, over the course of the last couple of years. And, it's quite astonishing to come out and rule certain people out rather than ruling people in. That's not usually what you do. So, that's also caught some people off guard and kind of hence reinforcing this sort of loyalty factor. He really does want people around him who are going to help, push that agenda forward. And, in this town in Washington, when he came into power in 2016, there wasn't necessarily that MAGA infrastructure in place. And in the years since, there's all sorts of, think tanks, organizations that have sprung up to sort of offer forth the personnel, the people, the policy wonks who support some of these ideas. That the Project 2025 stuff, which was controversial on the campaign trail, but is literally a booklet of policies written by people who would potentially serve in his administration if they were picked.
And just to head off any of the hate mail or bad tweets we're going to get from people saying, well, wait a minute. This isn't just Trump foes who are saying this about the loyalty thing. There are some Republicans even scratching their heads about some of these names that are being nominated by the president-elect.
Yeah, I think in particular, there is, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, people have been saying, least qualified candidate to lead the Pentagon, in history. Bolton has said some things which probably wouldn't be surprising to many viewers. And Matt Gaetz, in particular, is the one that I think has a lot of Republicans, especially in the Senate, scratching their heads. When reporters were asking, Republican senators yesterday, there was a lot of, surprise. Some people chortled, some people were kind of just aghast, and a lot of them promised there's going to be a lot of questions in this confirmation hearing. And so it's unclear who's going to make it through. Obviously, the Republicans control the Senate, but the Senate has, as people have said, is tradition bound and looks out for its own to some degree. So there could be some pushback from that, from some of the even some of the Republicans in that institution.
What would you say is the strategy that Donald Trump has in floating these names right now? Is there something bigger going on than just actually picking the folks he thinks would be best for these positions? Is there a chance that Matt Gaetz won't make it through the nomination process for the Senate, the confirmation process for the Senate, and that other things are going on here?
Yeah, exactly. There's been, there's a lot of things swirling around D.C. at the moment, but some people to some degree view Gates as a potential sacrificial lamb, someone who the Democrats are going to want to pull down, and once that's done, others will slip through. There's a sense maybe that he's kind of capturing attention, media attention again with some kind of surprise picks that are generating a lot of headlines, a lot of head scratching, and just getting some momentum and sort of media attention for the campaign. So it's not it's not entirely clear. I think there's a lot of people wondering. There's some people in particular pointing out the sort of pro-Israel credentials that some of the picks have, including his picks for Middle East envoy Mike Huckabee, for ambassador to Israel Elise Stefanik, his envoy to the United Nations, and so some people are reading into that, what kind of policy he would have. We know there's going to be, a renewal of maximum pressure on Iran, for instance. There's some sentiment out there that in the interregnum between now and January 20th that Israel will have a freer hand to potentially strike Iran. We don't know about that, but Trump has had a few calls with the Israeli Prime Minister, since he won the election and in recent weeks. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of people are trying to sort of overlay ideological lenses on top of some of these appointments. It's not clear how much of this is sort of the chaos that a lot of people remember from the first Trump administration, and how much of it is a sort of more calculated, reflective sort of approach to the type of cabinet he wants to assemble.
Hey, I am wondering, while all of this is happening, Ian, your beat, U.S. foreign policy, who is in what post could possibly determine, whether or not other countries are sharing intelligence with us, whether or not they feel comfortable enough doing it. What are the possible implications about who ultimately lands in these seats, especially when it comes to security, national security, U.S. intelligence, foreign policy? What are the possible implications? Who is in these seats ultimately when it comes to the foreign policy stage?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these foreign policy institutions, I'm at the State Department often. They are big beasts, and turning foreign policy around can sometimes be like turning a giant, freighter around, mid-ocean to some degree. But some of the picks we've seen, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, I was looking at some tweets of hers the other day. She has one, talking about Pearl Harbor and a fear of Japan rearming. There's a lot of views. Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, has talked about, is allowing Israel to annex parts of the West Bank, which is, very much against the current U.S. policy. There's a lot of views out there from some of these people. It might be a bit of a fool's errand to try and pick individual comments from some of these characters and attribute them kind of forward-looking to potential Trump administration policy. These institutions, like the State Department and others, they do have a tendency of sort of they're a bit of a moderating influence to some degree. I mean, there is some tradition, there is some policy here that they have to adhere to, yeah.
All right, good to know. Ian Marlowe, Bloomberg News senior reporter covering U.S. foreign policy. Hey, still to come, we're watching Disney shares soaring as streaming ramps up at the Magic Kingdom. We've got a breakdown of Disney's business when we return on Business Week.
I put some work into that. Okay, so Amazon, what's up, Candy? Sorry that we didn't get your super chat a little bit earlier there today, or a couple minutes ago. You had wanted to know about Amazon. Now, the thing about Amazon is, do we like the stock? Of course we like the stock. It's a good name. But the thing is that, you know, I'm a little nervous about it, and you want to know about the setup for into tomorrow, what we thought about maybe Amazon into tomorrow's setup. So for me, I really like the 210 area. So I don't think we're going to be weak enough to break that. But the story remains that it's a $200 name. So you don't need to move much to get $2 down, which brings you into 210. Like, I would really say, if we're talking about an area where we think if tomorrow, and I don't know which way you want to take the trade, but if you're trying to think about, you know, you're short right now, where could maybe we go very soon? Down low side, I would say a target for tomorrow, 207, 208. But for me, again, the market is only down 0.43. And I hate it when names are down double what the market is. Now, I know it's only 1% versus, you know, it's not like a monster move, but I can't really like rubber stamp that I would feel strongly about a long for tomorrow. So what I mean by that is it's if the market's weak tomorrow, Amazon most likely follows that pace as well. So I'd like to maybe see where we close today if the market really rallies and this is relatively strong as opposed to whatever the NASDAQ does. Like if this gets green and NASDAQ gets green, then Amazon's strong, right? Because Amazon makes back double what the NASDAQ puts up. So therefore it's strong. But right now it's the other way around. And just looking at today's action, we cannot break this 213 area. We've tried a couple times. That dip is pretty aggressive to the downside. So I would say, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be super excited if you're playing options in this name, but I think Amazon is a better long. I would just rather wait for it at 206, 207 there. And to me, it looks a little weaker. Friday, I could see another sell day. Although Tesla's down here today, Apple is also up. You know, like, we're getting news on Amazon right now anyways.
Oh, actually?
Oh, Amazon questioned by Congress about their relationship with TikTok. So I don't even know what that means, but maybe we'll go short. Let me go short here just to see if there's anything with that story. Now, all right, well, I'm short Amazon. There you go. We'll see if there's any story with this one. Amazon news. Let's go over to Adara on the desk.
This part of the show is brought to you by WorkSport. Introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, WorkSport, ticker WKSP. WorkSport is a U.S.-based manufacturer and is rapidly expanding with growing revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off-grid. Whether you're on the move or seeking sustainable energy solutions, WorkSport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP, discover the future of clean energy with WorkSport.
WorkSport, yeah, good report there yesterday from WorkSport as well. Checking in on SMCI. We got another piece out here at 18 because it didn't do anything. So here, oh, hold on a second. I got it, Fabian. Don't worry about this. There it is.
Yes.
It pushes it, like, see, it gets it right going right there. It's like right at the right spot and everything.
Right there. It's
okay, here we go. Let's go, little face slapper. Amazon. All right, well, we brought you that news. Here it is right here. Amazon and Adara was doing that, so she'll get this for you guys in a second, but it's, or maybe not, I can handle it. Amazon questioned by Congress over growing TikTok relationship. That's it. Amazon from Amazon, representatives from Amazon were called to Capitol Hill at the closed door meeting with a key committee. Earlier failed questions answered about retail giant independent relationship with the Chinese-owned video sharing app TikTok. So that's why I do not read the news and why I solidify Adara's job over there because, yeah, so anyways, downside into the 50-period moving average. Again, on to Congress, their question about their TikTok relationship. I mean, we already know that something's going to go down, right? I mean, Trump has come in and immediately talked about, you know, maybe his support potentially there for TikTok. So that would be definitely something to look out for there with Amazon. So here it comes in, man. We talked about it's 20 cents in the money. So, I mean, let's go. Shout out to Brendo. Brendan, what's up? All right, I'm going to take a piece out right here at 18s. There it is. We'll take a piece out now at 18. And we'll just wait to see what we happen now with Amazon. Nice little downside push right here. To Adara? All right, then.
Reading through, here's some sound bites from this Bloomberg article on Amazon. It's actually not as really as incendiary as the headline might make it sound. So you can see here, not a huge volume spike on Amazon to the downside, still kind of in this range. Basically, the headline was Amazon questioned by Congress over growing TikTok relationship. What actually happened, according to Bloomberg, was that the House Select Committee on China asked to speak to Amazon regarding its high-profile partnership here with TikTok with regards to shopping. This was announced in September, and this meeting happened from what it sounds like a couple months ago. So this kind of older news here that Bloomberg is reporting. Basically, I guess this House committee just wanted to make sure everything was all good with Amazon and TikTok's partnership. So doesn't sound like quite the story the headline made it out to be, but if I see anything else, I will let you guys know. It's also worth noting we have in just 13 minutes now comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell set to come through. He'll be speaking at this event held by the Dallas Fed. I will have him in my ear, and I will let you guys know if there's anything of note being shared there, guys.
The reversion man? I have no regrets. I mean, there's Amazon right here. Let's go to chicken dinner winner. Is Amazon, you can't buy live chickens from Amazon. All right, so there it is. Nice move down in. We're going to cover some more here at 01s and 02s. Bye-bye, Amazon. There it is. We brought that story to you. Try to read it as fast as possible. And there it goes down into 212. Bye-bye, Amazon. I mean, I don't, like Adara just mentioned there, though, when we're going to be talking about a story that is potentially months old, little bit of a late reaction here, but it's not really a month old if no one's heard about it before. So we'll wait to see about this one. Obviously, the market does not like what it hears here from AMZN, and there you go, Candy. I hope that the analysis was pretty dandy because we just talked a little bit there about why we thought Amazon was not, I didn't know why, but that it was weaker than the market. And here you go again. So maybe a little underlying story there. Funny that it just drops right now. But anyways, we'll take advantage of that. We are now out of half, exactly half of our Amazon trade here for 40 cents. So I'm going to take out another piece right here at 01s if we can. All right, well, it bumps up a little bit. But yeah, we like Amazon right here. SMCI also making that move back into 18, waiting for it to get going as well, back to the downside. So hopefully we do break that $18 mark. Maybe Amazon goes higher from here. Okay, we just got that fill at O's. I was about to punch out some more, but we get that fill back downside. So far, so good. Thank you, Gerald, there for the €1. So thank you so much for that, Gerald, and I hope that you guys is also there. It's news because someone wants their short. Yeah, I know, John. I don't know why, man. I mean, sometimes Neil and I will go back. Well, not go back and forth too much, but he doesn't like the fact that I say sometimes the market is rigged. I think the market is very, very rigged in all of this. But that, like insider trading and things like that, is a little bit different. The market gets, algos get turned on when the real money wants to turn them on. Is that rigging? Probably not, just the way the market works. And unfortunately, money will always rule everything, especially if you are Wu-Tang.
Yep.
And then cash will rule everything.
No, I think it's definitely skewed. But the thing is, like, even if I would agree with you. There are things that are very there's fugazi. There's a lot of things that may be conventionally unfair. But the thing is, if you consider that as like mechanics of the game, these are participants that exist whether you like it or not. And I think it gives you peace of mind as well. And at the same time, it kind of, you can get creative with like, all right, well, if participants are going to be participating like this, like, what I mean, spoofing technically illegal, but you see it all the time. If you watch tape, if you watch price action kind of moving around there, and then people spoof on the tape all the time. So I don't know, stuff like that exists. Sometimes it does move price around, and again, all it takes is one trader being like, all right, well, I'm done with this, and you don't know if that's manipulation. You don't know what that is. Yeah, it was funny. Again, like what in that movie Margin Call, right?
Good one.
It's just like, all right, well, you want to call that manipulation, or you want to call it's theirs to sell.
Right, exactly. It's part of the
it's part of the game. If somebody is like, okay, well, I want to sell,
for example,
yeah,
no.
Buy. I mean, maybe they might need to make a couple of filings, but depending.
They'll figure it all out. I mean, there's too much money in this game right now. We just talked about $50 trillion or something. Sharif was mentioning there was the market cap of the whole entire. I think that must be U.S. markets. I'm not sure. All right, John Del Segno, I'll get to your question about stock sell in a minute. What's up, Adara?
Couple things I want to touch on quickly here. Worth noting, GME, apparently a bit of a volume surge there, nice uptrend. I also have Broadcom up on screen because I'm starting to see here on social media and on Benzinga some whisperings from the 13F filings for this most recent quarter. Apparently here, Broadcom, AVGO getting added here by Tiger Global Management. They're raising its share stake here to 1.8 million shares in Broadcom. Not a huge reaction, but it is worth noting these 13Fs are going to be in watch, as well as some movement in GME. But we are brought to you by VinFast because there's some exciting news from VinFast which trades under the ticker VFS. Vietnamese pure-play electric vehicle manufacturer. This company has just secured substantial financial backing to supercharge its growth. Vingroup, Vietnam's largest private conglomerate, is committing a hefty $1.4 billion by 2026. But that's not all. VinFast founder and CEO, Pham Nhat Vuong, is stepping up with a personal injection of $2.1 billion, reinforcing his belief in the company's bright future. This funding isn't just a show of confidence, it's a strategic boost designed to power VinFast's path to break even by 2026. This move by Vingroup and Mr. Vuong underlines their strong support to VinFast's long-term success, and there's even more. Vingroup is converting $3.3 billion of its existing loans into non-voting preference shares, easing VinFast's financial obligations and giving its balance sheet a serious lift. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Adara, for all of that. And all right, John. So, look, the problem with the Soxel, so he's just asking here, I'd really love to hear your take on Soxel. It seems very unusually low given NVIDIA and key constituents trading at or near all-time highs. Correct, but the problem is this is 3 times levered. So look where Soxel is here, and the question is just for everybody, why is Soxel this low when you have, like, you know, NVIDIA right now? NVIDIA right here. We already talked about it, near highs. I mean, I don't think I need to show you guys this. NVIDIA near highs here as we go. Taiwan Semi, AVGO, so on and so forth. A lot of these names, I mean, they're not going to be completely at highs, but why is that so low when some of these names are yet so high? Well, I'll give you the answer. Because it's triple levered, and again, I'm not building these ETFs or anything like that, but because it's triple levered, it takes in consideration the short-term momentums way more than the actual long-term growth. So because they have to play it by options, what winds up happening is when there's names like an AMD that continues to go down, like an Intel, I mean, Intel's going back up, maybe bad example. Other names such as SMCI, AMD, we just talked about Taiwan Semis, ARM. Some of these names, as they continue to go down, and I don't know what the holdings are in Soxel, but there's a decay that happens. So part of it is that. So you got to be very, very careful trying to understand where these indexes are from, are these names in Soxel and whatnot, and what percentages they hold. Because if you, like SMCI, the move that it's having is just so dramatic here on the daily that it's affecting the price of Soxel, because you're going to have to keep on rebalancing that portfolio, and it costs more and more money to do that. So you got to be careful with some of those things. That's my understanding of the way it works. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and you're able to understand that a little bit better. So that would be why, for me, SMCI and SOXL, why it's so low right now. It's a 3 times bull, so it's a completely different way to build this equity, and it's by short-term volatility. So right now, you know, you're paying too much for different pieces of that, and you're not getting the outsized move from NVIDIA to help it go even further. And I don't even know, is this a market cap? Is Soxel market cap weighted or not? Because that could be another thing, right? They might be overweighted on SMCI. I don't know exactly what the weighting is on that. So something to think about. But there is the triple lever decay there. So that's more the problem, is they got to keep on getting these options and paying those premiums. So I'd hope for NVIDIA to rip up. And if it does, you're going to see that thing go crazy. But for right now, I don't really invest in those, to be honest with you. I think that if you're going to use something TSLL or something that's levered, over time, it will not give you the same, someone's phoning me, the same return that it would have just by holding the actual equity itself. Like, you're not going to get double the NASDAQ return on a double levered ETF. You will in the short term, you will not over 3 to 6 months, because it keeps on getting decay there with the options and strike prices.
That's
anyways, okay, that's that. Amazon, so there we go, man. We got out of half of it. Now Amazon's come all the way back up. I was going to give this the view up of 213. The market has come back up, and because we were doing that question, I was not able to average in. So let's do a little average in right now into the 60s. So it is kind of going a little meme crazy there. Like, what was up with that? Nice move up right now in the NASDAQ. So I don't know. Seems like actually Amazon's getting a little more love right here than we thought. Isn't it funny? that, you know, you get these complaints about you. We had Microsoft get looked into. That completely rebounded. I mean, look, here's Microsoft. And what was the story, DOJ, or I don't even know what it was. But Microsoft, I was sitting here, but I was focused on other things. There's the drop down there on Microsoft, and here's the complete recovery. So Microsoft goes from 428 down to 420, all the way back to 428 again. Like, what's up with that? Crazy move right there on Microsoft. All right, well, we averaged into Amazon. Now we're back in the money on it, as there's the move back in on AMZN, as it does basically retrace off of nothing special. Just happened to be that we were able to get short there. The 200 period, I think we can break a little lower. Wow, that went all the way back into 40s. Okay, what's my average price now on Amazon? 50s, so we're flat on it right now. Let's see if we can get a push back into 30s here, the 50 period moving average.
Yeah, no, I looked up what StockSell kind of holds there.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of it's index swaps. I don't know too much about that there. Yeah, no, I guess a lot of index swaps here. Kind of just playing around here with goggles on this action here. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not really looking for it to test. That's that. Let's see if it can get to VWAP is what I'm trying to ask, right? I got a little short earlier underneath some of these prior highs there. It broke out of it with some aggressive volume, kind of stalled in the 60s, so I got a little involved there, looking for that selling to kind of come back in. I have no idea. I'm kind of just like testing it out. Again, we saw this happen on, like I said, on TSM yesterday. I'm just testing out to see if the same is going to happen today here on Google. Not really, doesn't really have the same, I guess, factor profile, if you want to call it, things to consider there. But I will try to be a little bit nimble with it there, as it, I guess, makes higher highs and higher lows going towards VWAP. I'm just seeing if it can even get there. No, Alphabet, Google, right there. Somebody in the chat, I forget who it was pointing out JPM, man. JPM, nice little bid coming in off of a strong push in volume right here that happens at 2 o'clock. You can see we did make a base there at 241s, and then look at that push all the way back, all the way up towards some of this not pre-market, some of the morning session consolidation levels here on JPM there. Just being a little aggressive with this Google here, covering a little, maybe too many decisions down, but I guess not really looking for the whole move, just looking to feel out what it feels like underneath this view up here. See if, you know, are my sells coming in easy? Are the buys coming in easy? You ever do that? You ever throw out orders just to get a feel for like how the bid or the ask is getting filled?
Yeah. No, not. I mean, not to the extent that what you're talking about. It really. I like to throw out bids just because I like to hope and pray that they'll get filled, especially when we're short. And that's what's happening right now. Is we got a doozy on right now, guys. Amazon is now 40 cents in the money, and we're covering this again. We still have more than half of this position on that reload. Boom, right there. It's kind of lucky I wasn't paying as close attention to this as I obviously should have been, because we would have started the short right there, and then I don't know if I would have had that up there. So we did get lucky and got a nice price. But let's go, man. Let's spin it. It's a banger right there. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Will You Delist or Not? SMCI coming back down. I lost that first one, as I said Fisker would not, and Fisker did. Cost me about $1,000 on Fisker. Could have maybe bought a car for that. No, I think they're more expensive than that. But okay, there it goes, SMCI. Let's go. Wow, we like it. Nice short. We like it a lot up there.
Triple top, and you basically made those tops, dude.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I put about a couple million shares there. No, but at the end of the day, it's those are. You mentioned it on Disney. You know, when you get to levels that you like, that there's support there, and you're noticing it in this situation, a little bit of resistance. When it gets to certain levels, I think it was Google was nailed that bottom. He showed me on the 15-second chart.
Oh, there it goes. There's a dump happening right now.
Oh yeah, there is.
All I'm seeing is waves of dark.
By the way,
red.
this is dumping like a truck. Oh. Truck. Look what just happened to Amazon. It is Fed Chair Powell. He is in the building, baby. Here. What are you talking about, Jerome? Did you just did you get a bad fill from Amazon, or what's going on right there? What's up? All right, what's up, Adair?
I was just going to say here, so we actually don't have him in the building yet, though the announcer person has basically said, take your seats. Jerome Powell is about to speak here. Jerome Powell here is going to be part of this Q&A, I guess, moderated by Catherine Rampell of the Washington Post. Right now, it seems like the classical music that was playing has slowed down a little bit, so I'll wait and see, but just so you guys know, seems like comments from Fed Chair Powell are imminent, giving us that little push down in the Qs and the SPY, and we just got video feed, so I will let you guys know when I hear anything.
Oh boy,
right, perfect.
So everywhere here.
Yeah, I'm hearing it all in my ear right
Across
now.
the board.
You said that they're not in a hurry to lower interest rates. Okay.
Where's he at though?
The policy path is not preset. We're going to get this all from her. He expects inflation to continue to come down into 2%. I'm just repeating what I'm hearing here. They're literally reading it. Okay, Fed's committed to finishing the job on inflation. So at the end of the day, man, I mean, we're cooking up this profits right here. Amazon monster move. We just got filled at 80s. Yeah, okay. He's talking about everything right now. So here we go. We're just banking right here, like we're doing really well. Amazon, 70 cents in the money. SMCI dripping more as well. Look at SMCI coming back in. So these are prepared comments from what I'm hearing. Like, so the speech is already out there. So the market, I would think, is reacting the way it's reacting. Labor market is solid, he's saying. Inflation's on a sustainable path to 2%, so that's good. All right, I'm going to get some more out of SMCI here because why not? It's at 87s. We'll wait to see. There it is. We get a part fill there on ARCA there. It goes all the way through. Nice move there for SMCI. Back down to the downside. Oh boy, Obi, it's close enough to this right now. We've got $2 on right now. We got the SMCI trade, and then we have the newest trade on is Amazon. It's still blah, blah, blah in my ear, so we'll get more information there. It's a good thing that we said we had more than half of this trade on because right now we have about 40% left as we get lower here on Amazon. Bang, Obi. Like what else? Who next, you know? That's basically what Mike Tyson's going to be asking after the Jake Paul fight. Who next? There was an old video. Neil knows there's a video there that they were saying. He was trying to say who next, but instead it was who neck. It was like who didn't come across properly right there. But anyways, huge move down there for Amazon. We'll just see what happens. Adara will probably be recapping this and get us all of that information.
That SMCI is looking like it wants to go for that day low, man. You see that? Like I'm looking at the wick low, 17. Yeah, would you look at that? Just take a look at it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bidding 83s right now on SMCI. Yeah. Would you look at that? Oh, no, I'm bidding 81s, actually. It's at 80.
Yeah, you'll get filled. Right,
so you want to look at that? I mean, the thing is that...
yeah, would you look at that?
I mean, let's see if we can get that bottom. And again, the other thing about trading is we said that we were going to do this. Like, there's reasons why I don't have any fills in here. You know, okay, it's because... we waited for this move to happen. Like, I have no idea what Powell's going to say, no idea what these remarks are. But if you're looking at the stock and you're thinking, where can we go from here? Pick a weak name, pick the bears, go with it underneath VWAP, and look at that. Nice downside move. What's up, Adara?
I've checked a couple different video streams. All of the ones that I'm seeing, and I think I'm looking at the most up-to-date here, it's from the Dallas Regional Chamber itself, which is hosting the event. Fed Jerome Powell hasn't actually spoken yet from what I can tell, but we do have some prepared remarks. One that could be spooking the market is Fed Chair Powell saying that the Fed doesn't need to be in a hurry to reduce interest rates. So a little bit of a more cautious tone potentially could be scaring the market, saying that there is the commitment to beating the inflation goal despite a, quote, bumpy path, and talking again about some concerns here with housing and talking here about core PCE as well. We know the PCE is the Fed's preferred inflation gain. But it looks like she's introducing him right now. Right now, we just have a representative here from the Dallas Regional Chamber speaking out about what Dallas is doing. So really nothing here other than the prepared remarks coming from Fed Chair Jerome Powell yet. He hasn't even taken the stage.
Take themselves seriously. They need to get a quarterback because Dak Prescott right now is gone for the year. And they have Trey Lance, who they spent a 4th-round pick on. They should have got a running back. And then they have Cooper Rush that's in there right now. So Dallas has bigger things to worry about than the Fed, my opinion. But SMCI.
Yeah, TQ's just cracked low. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Like, are we not amused? Are we not having a good time yet? I mean, we should probably have about $1 million.
Dollar club. You're in the dollar club.
We're in a couple dollar clubs. Yeah, I mean, Amazon's trying to. Boom. You know what? I mean, yeah, Amazon's a good one. Well, let me put another bid here on Amazon because you know what? I mean, it's all nice and dandy, but we still got to get out. We'll put. Okay, there we go. We got some 85s. Now we'll put another 81 into here. Yeah, good trading. Yeah, thanks, Obi, for mentioning that. There goes Amazon right now. Yeah, the dollar club winner again. It's nice having you here. We got a couple more Dollar Club winners. You had a great trade there on Disney, and right now you've got Google and Disney one more time. So
still
great trading there, man. I think we make a pretty good team. I want to thank everybody for coming in one more time here today with Obi and myself, as we'll get Neil back on Tuesday.
Oh boy.
So oh boy on that one. I may go get a tea in oh boy minute. Right now, because this coffee, I don't know if you, I mean, are you a guy that like needs like, if I'm having tea, it needs to be like hot, you know, if I'm having coffee. Hot, like,
no, it needs to be hot. I like that.
Appreciate
my coffee's gotten cold, but
you gave us those sick gifts, and I've never been able to use mine. It's over there somewhere.
There's no outlet.
We didn't have an outlet.
No,
Neil
Neil definitely used it. You can see that he used it.
Damn you, Neil. Yeah. Oh, there's an outlet over there.
No, that's why I was like, you gotta have a warm cup of coffee, you know?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a great gift. Amazon now is officially that dollar in, and then SMCI is trying to go. SMCI is trying to push that low of the damn day. And again, stick with your guns. There's going to be no. Thank you, Halar. I really appreciate. I mean, look, it's nice to have winning picks, but thank you, Halar. I mean, I've never seen you in the chat before, so that's why it actually means something, and to everybody that's in the chat, but especially new traders. Congrats on another great day. You amaze me every day with your trading picks. They're not just, I guess they are my picks, yeah, but a lot of it is just having that sort of experience as well, right? Being able to sit here every day and train traders. And Sharif said something really nice before yesterday as well, and gave, you know, I'll take the credit, but, you know, gave the credit for, you know, his development and everything. He gave that to me, which was very, very flattering. He's put a lot of work in himself, and as you can see, made a big difference. And by the way, I already, for Obi, this was about like maybe a year ago, if not more, I already crowned this guy the next one a hell of a long time ago, and his trading is at all-time levels right now as well. So a big congratulations to Obi. And now we go over to Adara.
Keeping everyone updated here. So Fed Chair Jerome Powell is currently being introduced by now the second Dallas Regional Chamber speaker. So we've already had two speakers from the Dallas Regional Chamber. Now we're getting introductions here to Jerome Powell and Catherine Rampell, who's an opinion editor at the Washington Post, and she'll be moderating this event. So finally, it seems like we will be getting Mr. Jerome Powell, guys.
Definitely, we're going to be watching out for what the reversion man, also known as Jerome Powell, will be saying. I guess the statement's already been printed. The speech is out. I was talking to Sean, and I was just like, well, that sell came in across the board. We literally, I had this JPM up from a little bit earlier, and take a look at this. JPM drops over a point back down towards day lows, 144. What's the low of that wick? 144.57. Sorry, 141.57. There on off of that flush that came in across the board. So I was just like, is there someone's got like algos or sell programs that just come in at the time that things are supposed to happen? Maybe, perhaps, just an idea. I have no idea if that's true or not. But something that did happen off of that flush is that the TQs finally broke down this low. So let's take a quick look at that TQ chart here. Go to the 15-minute so we can see those bottom candles a little bit better there. We bounced off of this 80-25 level, 80-20 level a couple of times there. Finally kind of broke. Okay, so we're reclaiming right now with that bid. Wow, look at the wick, guys. So that wick coming right back through that 2100 mark. This is what I was waiting for. We were kind of trending to the downside here. I'm like, all right, can we get to that 2100 by end of day? Sure, maybe. I was looking at these 15-minute candles. I'm like, maybe we could, maybe we can't, but definitely a little bit of a market catalyst, it would seem. Would move the markets. We've seen how Jay Powell definitely has a bit of an influence on price whenever he's around the block there. So you know what, this Google, I'm just gonna take off the rest of this Google right now. Don't need to be in that one anymore. As it kind of consolidates sideways, right? I was just looking for this. Look, it kind of pushed above this and looked a little weak, kind of stalled, and I'm like, all right, well, if this is gonna have a healthy move to VWAP and not just going to go straight up, I kind of want to get involved in that. So a healthy move would be like something like, you know, like just healthy price action, like instead of something that goes straight like that obviously has, you know, an imbalanced pressure there. For example, like this, you have an imbalanced pressure to the downside. All of the morning session, we see that none of the other Mag 7 kind of did that. We can take a look at the top two constituents as well. Softy and Apple and NVIDIA as softy. Google, we can take a look at some of those. Look at that. None of that selling shows up on these names. This was an intraday catalyst here on Microsoft as well. Google, Amazon, what's happening with Amazon?
I mean, Amazon is absolutely getting
the whole
face
market's
slapped right now. All right, what's up, Adara?
Quick Jerome Powell update. So just so you guys know, he's just begun his prepared remarks. These are actually available here on the Federal Reserve website. So that's how I was able to realize this is where he is. Right now, we've already kind of seen, I guess, the crux of his prepared remarks that has already been published before he even took the stage. So we'll have to see if the market reacts to this, but this is information we already know. What will be interesting is what happens here during the Q&A portion. And as we get to the end of the speech, I will let you guys know. I'll be reading along here to see where we're at, guys.
Please. All right. Wow. Yeah, we are a little bit concerned here. Amazon is really falling out. And again, remember 20 minutes ago when we had that super chat from Candy. Thank you for that one, Candy. You had mentioned that, what did I think about Amazon? And I was like, you know what? I can't like the name because of the market was down and this was down double. So there goes Amazon again. As the whole market be falling back in right now pretty aggressively, that is for sure now coming back in today's low, on the NASDAQ again. So I don't, the TQs broke that level. I guess that happened over here at 21 again. So 21. Yeah, 21,000 flat. Yeah, no surprise there.
Crypto is falling?
In and on the bottom. Is crypto heading to the south side as well? 88 and change? Well, it's okay. So crypto is not necessarily falling. It's right back at this level again. But yeah, 88,000 was a level of concern for us in the crypto space last time. So yeah, crypto, I guess, Obi, you're not wrong. Crypto kind of is falling down a little bit here.
I was looking at IBIT. IBIT kind of broke a bit of structure there.
Yep, you're not wrong.
But so did a lot of other things, right?
That's
So that sell, again, is coming in across the board. It's interesting to see people talking about how like crypto markets and some of the other markets are not really related. Yeah, maybe sometimes there's a basket of.
I believe they are very correlated.
They're extremely correlated. I think we were talking about how Tesla has a bit of a correlation to crypto as well in the bigger picture time frames there. I don't know what's the next trade, guys. I'm looking for one. Everything's kind of selling off there. I was involved in a bit. Like, look at that, bidding right back up on Google there. So those are
Tesla,
not orders. Let me just get rid of that.
You know what could be one?
Stop script. Don't need them.
Could be one.
What?
First of all, thank you so much. Right there, let's
Wrinkled
spin this right
hippie.
now.
Thank you.
I mean, great name. Great name.
I like that.
Thank you, Wrinkled Hippie,
yes.
For the $50. I mean, loves the show. Thank you so much. So I'm going to say TKS. Thanks. Thank so much. Thanks so much. All right, there it is. Thank you so much for that, Wrinkled Hippie. I mean, that means a lot to us. I'm glad you are enjoying the show. That is for sure. Look, we're trying to do as much as we can here with the most of that we can. We can show you guys any names. If there's any names you want us to look at, Wrinkled, or anybody else that's out there, please. Sabrina Carpenter right there. Nice move to the... Where's she at? Where's she at?
Espresso?
You want an espresso? Or?
I have my coffee right here.
Coffee. I got some Earl Grey as well. All right, you know what? We started the show. We are